This is Empty the Bench with Tom Albano.
Well, I just lost Jacob deGrom. But you know what? That's okay, because you know why? I have all these stacks of money behind me. Oh, look, there's Justin Verlander.
Nick Morgasen.
Judge is probably is going to get more money, but I don't know. We have this discussion all the time. Is it years? Is it money? Is it viability? What are these players looking for? We don't know.
And Nick Federa.
No, it's not hawking corn dogs at the Iowa State Fair, which is what I would have had my money on. But you know what? This is why I'm not a betting man.
Empty the Bench starts now.
Let's just say it's about as effective as a dildo made out of Jell-O. And really,
And it's already begun.
You cannot have an offense in which the conversion rate is worse than Canadian money.
Oh my God.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Sorry, didn't mean to drop that on you so soon before the holiday season.
Nick, you want to know how dumb I am?
What?
You see this drink right here? I was drinking it during the intro. I almost choked just now. And I didn't even have a 28-3 or 3-1 lead like the Devils did last night, by the way.
Welcome to episode 165 of Empty the Bench on the Empty the Bench podcast network. Johnny Montalbano, Hank Indictor, Tom Albano, Nick Morgasen. Yes, it's a 4-box this week for our last episode. Quad box, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Scott Hansen, apologist. Anyway, welcome to our last episode of the year. We finally made it, hence the Christmas music instead of the normal music for the intro. By the way, that intro music is going away for next year, finally, as we have to get new music because the YouTube gods don't like us.
All of a sudden, this music that you had, all of a sudden, it's now all of a sudden you got to battle the copyright demons, which I think kind of happened to another one of our shows, if I'm not mistaken, recently, too.
Oh, well, I worked around that one, but...
Okay, good.
Make sure you follow the show on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow the network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you follow and subscribe to the network on YouTube, youtube.com/ETB Network. And as I said right off the top, Johnny and Hank from Game On are here as Nick had to go handle some stuff, so he's not here this week. But
here, cheap plug.
Yes, Game On every Tuesday at 7, except for today. Well, except for yesterday, I should say, due to some computer updating issues.
But I do recommend everybody go check it out. It was a great end to the year. Can't believe it's the end of our first year already. It's amazing how time goes by, right?
Oh, Hank, you didn't even have to do that. You could have just told me to play this.
Much like Johnny, I am a game show lover. I should have thought of that.
Absolutely. And how appropriate this week that you play that as just real quick. Happy 99th birthday to Bob Barker on Monday.
Wow.
Legend.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
But we have a lot to get into on this episode, a lot to get into. Unfortunately, the first 3 stories of this episode are probably as dark as this show has gotten in a long time. And Tom, you could say we've talked about a lot of dark things and investigative stories over this year.
But this is it's going to get. I'd say this year decided, you know what? Let's throw a couple more good shots in. I just told Nick before, so as of this recording, we haven't completed everything for our part 2 best of, because we have 2 best of episodes. And honestly, probably most of the topics that are going to be talked about here, most of the clips from this week's show might end up in that best of this and in that best of episode because of how prominent, like it's the last episode and we already have stories that are going to be prominent for right now and heading into 2023.
It's true. And just right off the top, an unfortunate World Cup story, which we will get into. Prominent writer Grant Wahl unfortunately passed away while in Qatar, in Doha, covering the World Cup. Is there foul play? Was there not foul play? There's a lot of different reports going on in that. We'll break that all down. Also, Brittney Griner returns to the U.S. in a prisoner swap. Now, it confuses me when you swap somebody for the, what was he named? The Merchant of Death. That was a little concerning to me. Also, Texas Longhorns basketball coach Chris Beard arrested, charged with domestic violence against his fiance. Reportedly, was third-degree assault. So I don't think he's seeing his job again anytime soon.
But on the brighter side, well, Yankee fans, Christmas came. Christmas came right before our show aired last week and kind of screwed everything up.
Again.
Aaron Judge is back. He is returned to New York, 9-year deal. Now some Yankee fans have kind of gone on and said, okay, now it's not Christmas because now we need more than that. So,
hey, Hank, this one's for you.
But we'll also talk about the supposed offer he might have gotten from the Padres, who, by the way, then turn around and give Xander Bogaerts an 11-year deal.
Yeah, I mean, the Padres were really throwing around the money, which I don't understand. Where did all this money come from? Well, the years, the money, the accolade. Well, except for Tatis, who's been benched since his whole steroid allegation. But
Mets still sweeping up. Tom Brady somehow might return next season because why the hell not?
Someone tell Tom Brady he's got to retire. Like, it's nice that you're 45 years old and you think you're a robot, but it's time to go.
And then we're going to talk about the Nets and how they had 8 players out, and load management continues to be an issue in the National Basketball Association.
Thank you, Kawhi Leonard, for destroying the NBA. And then there's so much more. Yeah.
Well, hang on. Now there's one more because we also have this update on Vince McMahon. Yes, Vince, on the last show of the year, we have Vince McMahon news. Vince McMahon updates involving his lawsuits and maybe a comeback.
Oh, don't say that. Don't. As Nick would say, whisper that into existence.
Well, it doesn't have to be whispered. A journalist has already reported it.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Well, and also we'll get into the NFL, the rapid rundown, and Kyler Murray could be playing more Call of Duty. If you listen to my ETB minute that went out the other morning.
Well, let's just say a certain carousel has basically spiraled out of control, and now we may have multiple quarterbacks on hospital beds at this point.
All right, let's get into it. We have a lot to get into. So right off the bat, we'll start with soccer journalist Grant Wahl. Dies at 48 in Qatar while covering the World Cup. Now, we kind of saw this like out of the blue. Now, obviously, Qatar, different time zone, different areas. So we're not going to see this exactly when it happened. But Tom, you saw it, and you saw that he apparently, it was a heart palpitation or
collapsed during the Netherlands game against Argentina on, over here it was on Friday. I don't know exactly what time it was over there. I think it might have been Friday, late Friday night over there, but it was during the Netherlands-Argentina game involving Messi. He was having supposed chest pains and collapsed within the press area and was rushed out, and unfortunately, apparently, passed away as a result of heart issues.
Now, the big thing is, and we'll get into this whole thing, he had a prior incident, not his fault, by the way. Let me make that very clear, first of all, that being part of the media, he walked in, I think it was into the arena with a rainbow shirt on and got stopped by the Qatar, I guess the security, or when he got in, and they basically said he couldn't come in. He had to change his shirt.
Correct. To say that wasn't his fault, though, is not my place because obviously the culture is very different over there, like it or not. Now, whether you like it or not, I think is a different story. I personally think it's BS, but ultimately, unfortunately,
it's a world event, though.
Correct.
It's like the Olympics. It's like the Olympics. Like, even though you're going to anywhere, you can't say, well, you're coming to my country. You have to follow my rules, my
customs.
Shouldn't work that way.
I mean, but ultimately it does. But now that's led us to, that came a couple of weeks ago, and that's led us to a little theory as to what might have happened. Because in addition, and I mentioned this in my ETB minute, Grant Wahl's last post, or one of his last posts on his Substack, where he did a little daily piece on the World Cup, day 25 listed for as being published on Thursday, December 8th, and the headline reads, "They just don't care. Qatari World Cup organizers don't even hide their apathy over migrant worker deaths, including the most recent one." Obviously, ever since the World Cup was awarded to Qatar for 2022 in 2010, I believe, there has been a far outcry of allegations of, bribery, allegations of, as we mentioned, the migrant worker deaths, allegations of just the poor conditions over there, to the point where, if you remember, the reason we have the World Cup this late in the year is because it's so hot over there during the summertime. It's still hot over there now, but now is more bearable as compared to.
I mean, it was 120 plus degrees. Guys, what do you think about this? Johnny, Hank, what do you guys think?
I want to take that angle here, guys, because that's the first thing I was thinking of was, like Tom just said, they originally, the World Cup is usually done in the summertime. And, for us that aren't the hugest of soccer fans, I mean, I watch the World Cup. I actually like the international soccer. I'll pay attention to it and watch it every now and then. But that's the first thing I think about are the conditions, because it still is hot over there in Doha. And I'm wondering if maybe that did have something to do with it. If maybe, it's not 120 degrees there right now, but it's still pretty hot. I mean, I'm going to ask you guys, being the meteorologists here, to tell me how hot it is over there. Maybe that did have something to do with it. And then maybe there was a pre-existing condition. Well, we don't know that with Wahl, if he had a pre-existing condition, but with how I've heard that how the conditions can be over there in Doha and Qatar, could that have played a factor in here? Because if you're standing out there and covering it for several hours, I mean, I don't care who it is. I mean, you're going to be affected by it. And if you're telling me that there were heart palpitations, supposedly, maybe him being out there that long, maybe that does have a factor in trying to put my investigative mind into all this. That could be a reason why, or one of the reasons why.
So, Johnny, there's two things that we've heard about the death of Grant Wahl that may have potentially played a hand. Obviously, you saw the Instagram video from a member of Grant Wahl's family, basically his brother, and basically implying foul play, implying the shirt that he wore a couple weeks ago, and implying basically that he may have been the Qatari government may have had a hand in his death. And
now, by the way, there's no way to prove that right now.
Anyway, it's so early on that it's very hard as of right now to make that be a reason.
Right, his body was just returned to the U.S. I think 3 days ago. So,
which was weird that they didn't get it right away, but that's a whole different issue.
I mean, it was traveling, so I mean,
it's a long flight there from Doha to the U.S. I mean, I know
it's like 15 hours.
I think from Los Angeles, I know from Los Angeles to Doha is like 15 hours.
Right. By the way, since you asked for an armchair meteorologist, I decided to go look. It's 64 degrees currently as of our recording in Doha.
I mean, that's much better than they were talking about. That's why they're playing the World Cup in November, December.
Because in June, it's like 120.
It's like 120 degrees. That's what
Forget it. It's unbearable there.
And that's why, I mean, that's, they're not getting any rain, or it's not like it's, 120 degrees where they get some rain and it cools it back off. I mean, it's not like that over there.
Hank, what do you think about this?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead, Hank. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say that there were a lot of factors that had to do with it. Like, I know that the conditions in Qatar definitely might have had an impact, but I feel like we're going to get more information probably in the days and possibly even months to come regarding his death. And as far as there being foul play goes, we know he had an incident with getting into one of the events, so I think that is a possibility, but definitely really sad. And although I don't really follow soccer enough, I've heard that he was one of the more renowned journalists in as far as like soccer goes with the World Cup. So definitely a very big loss there.
One of the most prominent and most important journalists when it comes to soccer. the flip, the other side of things is supposedly he also had been detailing, as of late, how he had been feeling unwell. That at one point he had described feeling unwell during a podcast episode where basically he said he thought he had bronchitis, he was given cough syrup and ibuprofen, and he basically said that his body just had basically at one point given out on him, which led to him taking a couple of rare days off between, I think it was like the second round and the quarterfinals or something like that.
I'm surprised he traveled.
Why is that?
Because if his body was giving out on him, if this stuff
No,
was...
I think it was during his time there, not before.
Yeah, I think
before the flight.
that's what I thought I'd read, that it was while he was there that
Right, but if he had prior medical history with everything that's going on in the world right now, I'm surprised he would travel.
Well, did we know if he had any prior medical issues before he went
Supposedly.
there?
Supposedly.
Yeah, see, that's something that's going to come out over time. I think we're going to learn a lot more over the holidays here, and probably when we come back in 2023, because I mean, if you're 48 years old, I mean, there's definitely got to be something to it. But there's definitely a bunch of factors that are definitely in play right now. But yeah, that's the one thing I know. I mean, I guess this broke like Thursday night here and into Friday morning, and I remember waking up and checking the news because always something seems to break late at night into the early morning hours, right? And the thing that just seemed to be commonality amongst the posts were about that, you know, people knew of Grant Wahl, like the soccer community knew him quite well. And again, as somebody who doesn't follow soccer that much, I mean, the outpouring of support and like all the great things you were hearing about was like, wow, it's like somebody famous here in the States with covering our major sports if it was like that. So
one factor I will give, by the way, is Grant Wahl is up there with the guys who I consider the major insiders of all the other sports. So like a Woj or a Shams, or if you want to go Jeff Passan, or you want to go any other sport, okay, I would throw Grant Wahl up there as one of the guys who covers soccer. I would even say he is the number one insider in soccer, at least on the US. And then whenever they have the World Cup or the Olympics, like he's the top guy.
So for me, the only other guy that I'm thinking of is like the Taylor Twellmans of the world.
He's bigger than
he's bigger than Twellman.
That's what I okay.
The
thing is also like, for me too, like just to make this as like a soccer point, is soccer in the U.S. I just feel like hasn't really taken off. I feel like the World Cup stuff has, but like the local soccer stuff just seems to never take off, and so that's the next step. But obviously it's nothing to do with this. But that's just what I'm thinking about. Yeah.
So there's like two ways that I can go about with this and this stuff. Obviously, there's one path of it is if foul play was involved, which I kind of alluded to in the ETV minute. If foul play was involved, then Qatar might be in for a little bit of a rude awakening when it comes, because I could obviously see this going out of sports, this going into politics, and I don't want to say the magic three-letter W word, but something along. But there's definitely going to be some sort of backlash. If you remember, kind of like what was it, 4 years ago now, when that one journalist in Saudi Arabia was killed, and then all the backlash that stemmed out of that.
I mean, unfortunately, everyone is battling with the U.S. That's just what they're doing from outside the country. Not to make this a damper from a political standpoint, but my point is everyone is using the U.S. as political football. We saw it, and with the next story, we're going to get to that as well. But this could have been a political football situation. Hey, if we take down someone from the U.S., then we're making our mark. Unfortunately, there might be bloodshed, but that's a whole different issue.
Now, the flip angle to that is if the second one is true, if it was death as a result of his illnesses, well, a couple of people kind of pointed out, kind of prominent, journalists that we follow on the ETB account on Twitter, that basically saying, well, this also should detail, maybe give a little eye into basically the toll that it takes to be a member of the media, because sometimes we don't necessarily think about that. We as the media will talk about the toll mentally and physically that athletes will have to go through, but even the media members have their own limits and such, and their own high expectations and their own stresses and stuff. Like we mentioned, to the point where Grant Wahl collapses in the middle of the press room.
I mean, it also doesn't. I don't know if I want to say if it helps or hinders, but when he was covering, I think, for Fox when he was down there also, but at the same time, on his own time, he was probably doing his own coverage for Substack. So the media has changed in a way today where you go out on your own, you do your own coverage, you're trying to make your own living and work as hard as you possibly can. Sometimes you can't stop. Unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked media shifts. Nick, you probably know, I've worked media shifts where I have worked 12, 13, 14 straight hours.
I did that in unfortunately, at the radio station I was at. There were some nights or weekends I'd work 11 p.m. to 9 a.m. with me being the only one in the building.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's illegal. There are labor laws that people don't follow. Now, I don't know how that works with these big companies, because these big companies are paying these guys big bucks, some of them. So they're
but that is the thing. Like, not every company is a big company. Not every job in media is going to pay the big bucks. You may be working your ass off just for pennies at this point.
But also, and then we've heard this many times before about Adam Schefter, who constantly has 3 cell phones, doesn't take a break, even in the offseason, constantly running around. Now, he's being paid $9 to $10 million, but let me ask a question. Is $9 to $10 million worth losing your insanity? Is it worth that?
I don't know. I mean, if that's part of your job, I mean...
Right.
No, but I'm asking the question is, would you rather make... and this is going to sound stupid, but would you rather make $500,000, not run around like a chicken with your head cut off every single second of every single day of the year? Or would you rather make $9 to $10 million and not have a life?
I don't know. I mean, if you love what you do, I mean,
right. If you love what you do.
There's so many ways to answer that question. I don't think it's very simple, yes or no, or pick one or the other. I mean, it really does depend.
But just having the Substack is literally a created freelance position for yourself. That's what that is.
Right, and I don't think Grant Wahl's Substack was a paid one. I think it was open.
Well, I think also one thing too, though, is if you're comparing somebody like Schefter, who doesn't have to go out, he can do that from the comfort of either his home or his hotel room or on a flight or whatnot, versus Wahl being out there in those conditions in Doha. I mean, that's something that is a little bit different.
All right, we'll leave that one there. We can literally discuss this for a whole hour.
Oh, no, absolutely. And trust me, and like you guys had said, there's going to be more to this. I mean, I will go out there on a limb and say that when we're back in 2023, we're going to have a follow-up to the story. There will be something else that comes out. I mean, if Wahl's back if his flight comes back here, his body comes back here in the U.S. and they do an autopsy and they find out what it is, and if they do find out that it's foul play, then this story gets exploded onto a whole new level.
If there's bloodshed, there's going to be war. I hate to say it, but that's what I think is going to happen, because the U.S. is now on its tippy toes between the whole thing with Russia, which we're going to get to in a second, and Doha, and all the other issues with China, and we're going to have problems.
And let's just put it out there. I mean, there's no other way. I mean, then it becomes more than just a sports story. Then it becomes, the next level where to the stuff that we don't like to talk about, it's going to be hard not to talk about it when it comes to this kind of stuff.
It becomes national news. That's what it becomes. All right. So now part 2 of this whole situation. Brittney Griner returns to the U.S. in a prisoner swap. A lot of people have some issues with who they traded. I hate saying that. It's such a horrible word to say you're trading somebody.
Trade.
And I couldn't even believe the White House was even saying it was a trade. They weren't even calling it like a swap. All right, we'll trade the Merchant of Death, who was selling arms to Colombia and all these countries to kill people in the U.S. for Brittney Griner. Don't get me wrong.
Everyone.
Oh, go ahead, Hank. What were you going to say?
Any draft picks involved?
That's the point. Everyone's saying trade, though, that it's kind of like, everyone's joking. We didn't even get a first round pick for Griner.
I mean, no, they got a person to be named later.
Yeah, cash for the player to be named later.
I mean, it's so bad. Now, don't let me preface before everyone throws something at me for the way I said it. Brittney Griner should have been back in the U.S. a long time ago. Okay, she shouldn't have been gone for the 9 to 10 months that she basically was trapped in Russia.
I can't believe, Nick, honestly, that she spent more time jailed in a communist country than LeAngelo Ball did.
Well, LeAngelo Ball's an idiot, and Trump bailed him out, so that's why he got out. But I'm talking way more politics than I hate to on this show. But my point is that Brittney Griner should have been back a long time ago. But what about Paul Whelan? Okay, that's the question I have.
So supposedly it was several months ago that they offered the merchant to death for Griner and Whelan, and Russia basically said, "Yeah, go F yourselves."
Well, I'm not surprised by that. Look who's running the country over there. This story, I mean, it has I wouldn't call it the happy ending. I would call it a good ending, is what I would call it. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what. I give you guys, you guys over there at Empty the Bench, a ton of credit for this because you've been on top of this since the day that it happened. It's such a tricky thing because, like you said, she's jailed over there for 9 to 10 months over this. But at the same time, was it worth it or? It's very tricky. And you know what, Nick? This almost becomes to the point. This story and like the story that we just let off the show with, it almost becomes to the point where it's kind of political because that's just the nature of the world right now. Yeah. So I would say though, it's tricky because you're talking about the whole messaging to all this too. I don't know what to make of it. This is one of the few times where I get. There's so many ways to look at it. I'm not sure what way I want to think about it.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Nick. I'm really disappointed that what's the last name of the soldier? Whelan?
Paul Whelan.
Whelan. Yeah. Whelan is still stuck over there, and they couldn't do anything for him. And we traded away, as you mentioned, the merchant of death for a WNBA player. But unfortunately, Nick, number one, as we mentioned, Griner was being used. Like we've already used this, and you just used the term in the last story, political football. And as far as we go from a societal standpoint, unfortunately, celebrity status will get you places, and will get you away with more.
First of all, didn't we hear reports that Brittney Griner basically said she hates the U.S. anyway?
I can't confirm or deny those.
But I've heard rumors of it that she hated the U.S.
The only thing I remember was LeBron telling her to not.
Oh, good. That's another prize you should be listening to.
Oh, LeBron! I was going to say Nick off there.
That's the perfect political influence to listen to in the sports world. I don't know. I'm happy she's back, but Paul Whelan is coming up on 4 years being stuck in Russia. Okay. That's the problem. He is the military guy. Okay. What the U.S. doesn't care about the military. Okay. Got it.
I mean, Nick, you don't even have to look at this situation. You just have to look at all those men and women who come back over here with PTSD, and we basically just say, "Go fuck yourself." So
true, absolutely. I don't know. And first of all, before anyone turns this into a Biden versus Trump versus left or right, I would have yelled at either president that was in the White House if this is what was going on. Okay, so it's not just Biden. I'm not taking a stance politically. It has to do with that the White House is not doing their due diligence to bring somebody home. That's all it is. Whew. All right.
We got one more story of crap that we have to get through. Oh, boy. So, Chris Beard, the men's basketball coach for the University of Texas, has been arrested and charged with domestic violence. Originally, I'd heard it was against the daughter, but
it's his wife, apparently.
Against his fiance. And not just domestic violence, but specifically strangulation. Hands around the neck and chest area, and basically trying to choke the life out of somebody.
Yeah, this was bad. Johnny, what do you think about this? You follow the college world a lot here.
Well, so he's been suspended indefinitely. That's what I've heard, right?
Yes,
that's confirmed. Suspended without pay.
Well, that's a good start, and you know what? Let the investigation play itself out. But I think that's the smart thing. It's not like they're going to say, "Oh, we're going to keep him on until this happens." They actually, I think Texas give him credit because I think they did come out right away and announce that they were suspending him indefinitely. So I think that's the right thing to do and let the investigation play itself out. Look, I don't care how good Texas is or what their record is. I mean, the reports of this are absolutely terrible. I mean, it's amazing that they didn't fire him immediately, but they can't. But they can't. They have to let the investigation play itself out here.
As soon as they confirm it, he will be gone.
Yeah, and maybe again, this will be something where it takes time, and maybe in the coming days and stuff, we learn some more about this. And I know he's out on bond or whatnot, but I think Texas took the lead in this, in that they did suspend him indefinitely without pay. Let's also get that part out too, without pay. That's a good thing too, because you see all these guys get suspended and they still getting their paycheck, which is absolutely ridiculous. But I think they are taking the lead in this, which is good, and then they just have to let the investigation play itself out. But yeah, just the initial reporting, though, and what you're hearing about what exactly happened, it's awful. I mean, there's no other way to put it here.
Yeah, no way to get around this one.
Yeah.
Well,
like you said, I think the thing that just concerns me, as I'm praising Texas for taking immediate action, because Nick, if you really think about it, a couple of times this year already, whether it was the shooting down in it wasn't New Mexico, it was down in there was a shooting recent.
New Mexico. It was the rivalry matchup. There was a shooting.
No, I think there was another one before that.
What, Virginia?
Yes, Virginia. No, we talk about the shooting with Virginia. You talk about the punt guy, Matareza, and both times we said a university kind of just letting things go and letting things happen.
By the way, he got off. No charges.
Yeah, Arezes gets off with no charges. So, but my point was, we were questioning, why does San Diego State, how did Virginia just let things happen? Well, here, Texas actually said, obviously, we still have to let the investigation play out, but as you said, Johnny, they kind of have good optics here by taking a stand immediately, saying, no, you're suspended until all this plays out. Without pay, too.
I mean, unfortunately, they do have to wait, because if they were to fire him and then they proved it didn't happen.
Right, it's a lawsuit against them.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying I think they're doing the right thing all the way around here. I think they're doing the only thing they really can do in this sport.
I mean, I don't know if they can. They could technically fire him for violation of rules, possibly, if that doesn't come through.
Yeah, but that's towing the line a bit.
We'll see what happens.
That still opens up the lawsuit thing.
But, all right, let's get into something Hank is excited about. The Yankees and Aaron Judge. Though, I want to hear Hank first, because Hank was jumping around. Well, we can't. What was that saying that Nick said about if Aaron Judge re-signed with the Yankees?
Oh, what? Blank check?
No, running around the streets.
Oh, running around.
That's probably why he's not here today. He's probably running around the streets. And he's probably running around the streets. He has his phone out.
Okay, that's not what I did when Aaron Judge re-signed. I would say, if I'm being honest, I was more relieved when the Yankees signed him. And the reason I say relieved, and I know you might not entirely agree because of the length of his contract and the amount of money that he's getting paid with regards to his contract. The reason I say relieved, every single day I'd wake up, first thing I'd hear, I'd turn on my car, going to work, I'd hear WFAN. Oh, is Aaron Judge going to sign with the Yankees? Is he going to go with the Giants? Every single day you'd be hearing this.
So
once he signed, I was guaranteed to wake up knowing I'm not going to have to hear that the next day.
So once he signed, Hank, this is probably what played through your head.
You beat me to it.
Actually, no, Tom. You know when that sound played through my head?
What?
When the report the other day?
When we found out who Arson Judge was.
Well, by the way, I have to say one thing, which was really well. I can laugh about it now
that
during
John
our
Heyman is the biggest asshole in the
No. Oh no. Wait, I have plenty to say about that. But first, when we were doing the football stream the other. How many? What was that? A week ago now?
Oh, on Monday Night Football, right before Thanksgiving.
Oh, right before Thanksgiving, and I'm looking.
Oh, what's his name? Put out
John Morosi. John Morosi, who's an insider for MLB Network and Fox, puts out a tweet, and it wasn't concise. It was very up in the air.
Right. So that tweet was John Morosi posting a video of Aaron Judge basically arriving in San Francisco because he was going to have his conversation with the Giants, basically saying some words to the camera. But Morosi starts the tweet with breaking news, which
Right.
Morgasen here then freaks out about and basically says, all right, and like there was a point, and you can see it if you go back to that Monday Night Football stream.
Nick almost lost the color in his face.
Lost the color in his face. We were about to contact you two, like, okay, we gotta, we have to stop the football stream. We gotta change it now into an Aaron Judge signing stream.
But why would you start a tweet with breaking news if you're not going to say where he's going? And by the way, ironically, he was the first one to break the news of him actually signing.
Correct. Which, John Heyman did, but he did it very inaccurately. Firstly, inaccurately in, Arson Judge.
That was trending on Twitter for a couple days.
And now there's a new shirt as a result of it.
Well, I'll tell you this.
And then saying, "Oh, I jumped the gun."
Oh yeah, you jumped the gun. Good job.
Well, I'll tell you this. So last Tuesday, when this was happening, between Heyman and a couple of other people, and just the sense that I was getting, and I guess there was a report that the Giants did offer him a 9th year, and that's what really got me worried because the Yankees, the first 2 offers supposedly the Yankees did offer Judge did not go to that 9th year. It was at the start of the season, 8 for $230, and then there was a report, I think it was from SNY, that they had an 8-year, $300 million option. And I remember I did an ETB Sports Minute saying that was not going to get it done. And then we find out it was about 8:30 Eastern last Wednesday morning from Morosi that Judge did go back to the Yanks. And I'm like, all right. So now the next thing I was curious about was, all right, so what's the contract? And I was imagining it was going to probably be a 9th year, and that's exactly what it was. So there's 2 reasons to me why I think this got done. Number one, Aaron Judge did take a discount at the end of the day because he ultimately wanted to be a Yankee. And you know what? Not many athletes this day and age do that. And number 2, the Yankees did their part in that they did go to that 9th year. And I think that's ultimately what did it. And we've seen recently in baseball that not only is it the money, guys, it's really the length of these contracts. And I just remember one of the first topics that I talked about when I joined your network was Freddie Freeman and how the Braves offered him 5 for $140, but the Dodgers were the only team to go to the 6th year. And I think that's why he went over there. So Judge coming back here, it's great. And yeah, that's the other crazy part that broke in the minutes and hours after the initial report was
there was a mystery team.
There was a mystery team, and it was the Padres, and they supposedly did offer more, $400 million, and they struck out again. And it's amazing because it wasn't the first time. They did it with Trey Turner. There's somebody else recently that they did offer supposedly more money to, and they got turned down again. But
I mean, where is all this money coming from? Again, I said this on Game On. I'll say it again. Where is all this money coming for the Padres? They don't have it.
I mean, now that maybe now they're finally willing to spend it. Now that they have, the likes of Juan Soto and such.
Yeah, but they played the cheapest team in baseball for decades. Now all of a sudden they're willing to spend. They were going to spend $400 million on Judge, $280 on Xander Bogaerts.
Which, by the way,
didn't you hear that AJ Preller pretty much discovered a massive safe hiding somewhere in the ownership office? So he asked for permission, and look, that's where they are.
That sandbox out in the outfield there, maybe they dug up some gold or something.
That's good.
By the way, apparently Bob Nightingale of USA Today kind of made the implication that if Aaron Judge had looked at that $400 million deal from the Padres, there was a chance MLB and Rob Manfred could have come down and vetoed it for some reason.
For what? They're allowed to offer whatever they want.
Probably something just really quickly here. Probably something involving the luxury tax threshold.
Okay, so is the Steve Cohen tax going to be vetoed also? If you're going to veto the 10 years, $400 million for the San Diego, you have to go veto everything for the Mets.
When in doubt, just put that graphic.
Oh yeah, that.
I mean,
Oh,
my
you mean
God.
this?
Yeah, please. If he would have even thought about opening an investigation into the judge signing, I would have blown my fuse on him for the 67th time this year.
Well, he did open a dumb investigation into the Yankees and the Mets over Aaron Judge.
Well, yeah, and that also sounded totally ridiculous too.
I don't understand. Like I said, if he went and investigated that contract offer from San Diego and then didn't do anything to Steve Cohen, because Steve Cohen is just blowing away $400 million or 2% of his net worth, by the way.
Yeah, we'll get to the Mets and their continued spending in just a second.
But it's ridiculous. Now, I even though I thought he was going to go to the Giants and I had to hear it from Nick every week, what do you mean? You're a closeted Mets fan. I'm like, whatever.
That picture is never going to go. That image of you being at Citi Field's never going to go away. It's going to haunt his mind forever.
Well, let's be fair. This is ultimately for as much crap as we have given Cashman and Steinbrenner, as much crap as we given the Yankees that in the hours leading up to the Judge signing, we were saying, oh, they got it done because our biggest signing of the offseason up to that point, up to Wednesday morning, was Brian Cashman himself. But Hal Steinbrenner actually said, you know what? I'm going to sit with Cashman. I'm going to sit with Judge. I'm going to ask, what is it you want? Judge said the 9th deal. Done. They matched the Giants offer. And not only did they match the Giants offer, but like you said, and like the graphic shows, he took the lesser deal. He still somehow took the lesser deal. Now, granted, I know, Nick Morgasen, you're not a fan of the terms. Johnny, you're not, iffy on the terms. I am kind of as well.
I'm not really bullish on the terms either.
I know.
Because,
however,
once
the Verlander contract happened, once Trey Turner got 11 years, that the Yankees were done in. It was like at this point, you either have, because I think Hal and Cashman have now realized you have to spend in this offseason, otherwise
you get nobody.
Otherwise, like I said in August, it'd be Baby Bombers 2.0 at that point. It would be
now,
the Yankees would. I know we hate the term, but if they did not get this done, and they do not spend, and we're still having issues and discussions about Yankees spending, not spending. But if the Yankees went in, what the first signings of free agency tells me is that if the Yankees went in with the strategy that we thought they were going to go into, I know we hate this word in New York, but the Yankees were looking at the word rebuild in the face.
I need to say one thing, though, and Hank, you might not agree with me here, is Brian Cashman gets zero credit for the Aaron Judge signing. Zero credit.
No, I don't
think do you give it more to Hal?
I
was obviously a Hal signing. What makes you think I would disagree with that?
Because some people are saying that Brian Cashman deserves the credit over the years for the signing.
Like I just said, Hal was the one who sat down and said, what is it?
Wait, what did you say, Hank?
No, that anybody who pays attention to the Yankees at all will know that was clearly a Hal Steinbrenner move.
Also, like I mentioned, if they didn't get this deal done, Hal would have had to eat a whole bunch of crap for the comments of "we will not be outbid for Judge."
And also the pitchforks would have been coming for Yankee Stadium if Aaron Judge was not back in a Yankee uniform. But as I started to say, Brian Cashman gets zero credit for this signing. And by the way, I know Nick calls it the biggest free agent catch of the offseason. It's really not. The way I look at it is you were re-signing your own player. That's not a free agent catch. You had to do it.
Well, that granted leads to the next part of the discussion is what is next for the Yankees, because that's the other thing is this is a re-signing. Tommy Kahnle is a re-signing. There's no big next person out there. So, there's no, I shouldn't say that, but the Yankees have had re-signings this offseason. We haven't had a new acquisition. Now, supposedly the Yankees and Rodon, they've been saying this for days, are kind of a match for one another. They're trying to get into the final stages of negotiation. The only other thing I hear and kind of picture is if they're not spending, is there some sort of trade in the works?
Well, do you want to hear the most bizarre rumor I heard in the past couple of days? I was telling this to the guys.
Okay.
The most bizarre rumor I heard is that the Yankees are trying to trade for Fernando Tatis Jr.
I did hear about that. I think that's just complete rumor. I think that's
Yeah.
complete bullish.
Jack Curry was on the Yes Network the other day, and they said there's no truth to that at all. And I think that's utterly ridiculous. I mean, I don't think the Yanks are in on a shortstop, guys. They would have done it last year, and I'm telling you, I said this last year, and I'm going to say it again going into this year. One of the kids are going to be starting at shortstop for the Yanks in 2023. It's either going to be
I don't.
Volpe. What's that?
Johnny, I don't think so. I think the Yankees are fully set on having IKF and Donaldson on the left side of the infield.
Well, I mean, they brought back. I mean, but remember, the Fleffa was an arbitration signing, so I mean that really doesn't mean much.
Well, Tom, it's going to be the justification of the trade.
We need to prove that this, as I've been saying, that we need to prove this trade kind of right is going to be their argument.
Well, I mean, it's going to have a lot of work to do to justify that trade, but
he can't hit.
But Johnny, I don't see by 2023. However, I do see by trade deadline, or what is it, after August 17th, when you can call a rookie up and their clock doesn't start. I definitely see Volpe making his way up here at some point, only because, now it's funny that you mentioned Volpe. And we're talking about trades. So there's a rumor that the Yankees are now out on the Brian Reynolds sweepstakes because the Pirates are looking for a team's top 3 prospects for Reynolds.
Which is insane. Insane.
Well, but that's also because the Pirates don't want to trade Reynolds. Which means if we trade for Reynolds, if the Yankees trade for Reynolds, that means bye Volpe. Which I think it's kind of become clear, Johnny, and I will agree with you on this, that they're not going to give up Volpe. They want Volpe on this team ASAP.
Well, I'll tell you right now, and if you're going to trade Volpe, you better be getting somebody better than Brian Reynolds. I'll tell you that much. I mean, that's not enough for me to be trading Volpe.
Here's the deal. They're not getting 3 top prospects for him anywhere. And on top of that, because Brian Reynolds doesn't want to play there anymore and he's requested the trade, you're going to have to come down to the value of the teams if you want him traded.
Especially considering the Pirates are a poverty franchise.
And also, do you really want a disgruntled young star in your organization? No.
I think it's going to be either, Peraza, Volpe, or Fleffa over there at short to start the year. Or you do the other, if you wanted to make a move for a shortstop and make a trade or something like that. I mean, Gleyber Torres is probably going to be the one guy that probably has trade value on the major league roster right now.
The only thing about
bringing back Rizzo could be first and be at first base, and you got LeMahieu over at second, and we all know about how they don't want to move Gleyber off second.
True,
right? And that makes sense. It makes sense because they got to figure out their roster. Tom, you've said this for months. That
the log jam.
There's a log jam in the infield. They need to trade somebody. They have plenty of pieces that people will want to get something back, a pitcher, something they really need.
Also, by the way, the only other reason I was concerned about Volpe and probably not starting is because apparently in his at-bats at AAA so far, apparently like 1/3 of them were strikeouts. So he still has some work to do on the offensive side of things.
Well, let me just piggyback to one thing about Rodon. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If the Yanks don't end up getting him, and I know they're right now looks to be the favorites, but money's going to be a question mark. Are they going to be willing to go
$200 million?
Years? Yeah, are they going to be willing to do that? I don't know. I mean, they've done that with Cole. I'm wondering if they're hesitant to do that again. They've done that with Cole, and they've got Stanton's contract. I don't know if they're willing to do that again with another person, which is why I'm still wondering if Gleyber Torres could be in play for them to get Pablo Lopez from Miami.
They're not trading him.
Or some relievers from Seattle.
I don't know.
It's possible. I mean, I know Tommy Kahnle's back. I know you brought him up. They did bring him back.
You're going to get Michael King back from injury.
Yeah, I mean, that bullpen was so depleted last year because of injury, and obviously we know Chapman's gone. But yeah, I mean, that injury was so. Whatever, right? Yeah.
See you never, Chapman.
So many injuries in that bullpen last season that you've got them coming back. But that's really the route the Yanks are going at right now with this team.
And I'm actually curious. I'm sorry, Johnny, but one more. And I'm actually curious about what they're going to do with the outfield. Obviously, Judge is a lock. Obviously, Harrison Bader is a lock. Are you going to put Oswaldo Cabrera out there? Because the one thing I just want to make sure, the one thing I want to make sure is that in 2023 we do not have Aaron Hicks as a starting outfielder.
Oh God.
Understand, Tom. I would have loved Brandon Nimmo. I got to be honest with you. I know the contract was a lot, but I think Brandon Nimmo was such a great fit for the Yankees. It's a bummer they weren't able to.
I wouldn't mind. I obviously I don't think it's going to get done, but I wouldn't mind having Benintendi back either. Have Benintendi and LeMahieu as contact bats in that lineup.
Tom, there's no coincidence, and I'm not saying the Yankees would have beat the Astros, but there's no coincidence that the team could not score in the postseason, and LeMahieu and Benintendi were not healthy.
That was going to be my next point. Is that we're talking about having LeMahieu. LeMahieu is not a guarantee because LeMahieu is currently hurt, and they're still trying to figure out what the hell's going on with him. He may not be ready for opening day.
They're saying he's progressing nicely, but this is 2 years in a row now with LeMahieu that he's been hurt down the stretch. So that's another, and he's only getting older, and he's in the middle of a 6-year contract extension. Again, that's maybe the Yankees are going to be hesitant on these big long contracts because they've been doing that with these guys, and it's not really panning out. They're going to have Cole coming down the stretch here. Stanton still getting paid a lot of money. Donaldson, they made that trade for Donaldson, so they had to take that contract.
They're stuck with it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Maybe this
Gary Sanchez tax.
Yeah, I said that Donaldson deal is the price they paid for giving Gary too much of a leash.
Well, but they got better at catcher, but they also got worse at third base and shortstop. That's the trade-off.
Well, Hank, what do you think about $200 million for Rodon? Is that worth the money, you think, or no?
I mean, look, I think they need another pitcher, but 200 for Rondon, that's kind of a stretch, but it might be necessary if you really want that extra pitching depth.
Well, like I kind of mentioned. So, Nick, well, not that I kind of mentioned it, but
let's put it this way: as much as I would love to have Rodon, I'm not clamoring for Cashman to give him a blank check.
Correct, the blank check. But basically,
I'm sorry.
I just caught that. I'm sorry.
But basically, what my point was that all this money that's being spent by teams. I mean, for years, Nick, if you remember going back to Unspoken Days, 2018, 2019, we were complaining about these owners and GMs not spending, but they were kind of in control. Now the players are the kind of ones in control. So, like we said, if the Yankees went in with the expectation of not spending in the way that they have proven us wrong through this Judge signing and not, I mean, they were going to land nobody. They're lucky right now they landed Judge, but as we kind of implied, and we all seem to agree, it seems like more work needs to be done.
Well, the one thing I will say to end this, if they didn't spend on Aaron Judge, that was your marker for the offseason. So if they didn't spend on Aaron Judge, they weren't spending on anybody. That would have been hypocritical if they didn't sign Aaron Judge, but they went out and they got a bunch of other pieces on top of it.
Let me just add one more thing. I don't know if you have this coming up, but the Yankees they need to get a pitcher for one other reason too. The Blue Jays got better by bringing in Bassett. Signing Bassett, actually their rotation, I'll say this right now, the Blue Jays rotation 1 through 5 is better than the Yankees right now. And that's why I think the Yankees need to go get somebody. And I don't know if they're going to overpay for Rodon. I almost would be more comfortable if they were able to trade Torres and maybe get 2 starting pitchers back. I know that's going to be hard. That's a lot to ask for, but to get 2 starters back and to lengthen this rotation, because we all know you need more than 5 starters in this rotation.
Let me just put it this way. If you don't add to this team and you don't come out with the same kind of momentum from the first half of last season, if you play like the second half of last season, if you play like 2021, there's a chance the Blue Jays will finally catch them in 2023.
Yeah, but the one thing about the Blue Jays is the Blue Jays haven't proven yet that they could get to the World Series. They have not proven they could do what they need to do to win. So they could get as many starting pitchers and as much offense. They still have not proven to win.
Agree, Nick. But it's like every offseason the Yankees don't make a major move. It's like, is time starting to run out that they're finally going to get caught?
Yeah, because I don't think you can imagine Judge having a 62 home run season again next year.
All right, where are we going here?
All right, so obviously we brought up the Padres and their little failures on trying to chase free agents, but They finally landed one. 11 years, $280 million for Xander Bogaerts.
Again, I'll do it again.
Yes, let's do.
I mean, because
look, I think he's one of the best shortstops in baseball, but giving a 30-year-old shortstop an 11-year, $280 million deal. Nick, play that again, please.
Oh, I wasn't ready. Here we go.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly.
I mean, 30-year-old shorts, and Johnny made the point on Game On also that probably about 3, maybe 4 years into that, he will probably not be at shortstop anymore.
Yeah,
shortstops
don't last forever.
I mean, shortstop is kind of like, maybe on the other side, but like the catcher position. You can't catch forever.
Well, he may not be at shortstop at the entire year next year. I was saying he's not going to start the year there, but I forgot Tatis is still suspended for like the first 32 games, I think, of next season.
He'll be back like late April or early May.
Yeah, but Hank was already saying on Game On also that he's already in the outfield, which they did anyway, so that's not really going to be a distraction.
Well, they put him in the outfield because of his of that shoulder injury that he had 2 years ago.
They should just keep him in the outfield and let Bogaerts play short.
They're going to have to get very funky over there, very creative in San Diego next season. Either he goes to the outfield, Bogaerts goes to another infield position, or DHs. I mean, I was
going to say, is one of them going to be a permanent DH?
That's the weird thing. Like I said,
Bell's no longer there, so I mean, they could open that up.
See, years ago, when the DH was not in the National League, you couldn't. A National League team couldn't make this signing of a long-term contract because they didn't have a parking place to put a player as a DH like the American League. Now you have American League across the whole league. You're going to see more long-term contracts happen across the league because now they have a park place for them. I don't know. I still think the Trey Turner deal is ridiculous from last week.
What about Boardwalk?
Well, it's like landing on the hotel with the boardwalk.
Well, no, I mean, that's pretty much true. Every time you play Monopoly, you pay a good amount for those spaces, but then you're also paying a good amount to set up the houses and hotels.
Right. And you're paying the taxes and all that crap on it. I mean, like,
and then all you need to do is land on Boardwalk when it has a hotel on it and it's owned by another, and you got to pay that rent of like thousands of dollars.
$2,000.
You want to hear my hot take regarding board games, Tom? And I think
God, when did this become a board games hot take?
Since you're a teacher, I think you might like this.
Okay.
Kids should be required to learn 2 games. One of them is Monopoly, and the other one is chess.
See, I wish I learned chess all those years.
I learned it. I just got bored of it.
I kind of tried to play it a couple of times.
Because chess teaches you strategy. Excuse me.
You are having a day over there.
Well, yeah, I was just drinking one of these. It's not an alcohol.
Chess teaches you strategy, and
Monopoly teaches you financial responsibility.
Well, depending on how you play Monopoly.
Yeah, no,
financial irresponsibility.
I was going to say the 2 games you should play are Monopoly and the Game of Life.
Or if you're Michael Scott and you're playing it and you have bad luck, I declare bankruptcy.
All right,
speaking of bankruptcy, that's what the Red Sox are probably doing. Just going back, I'll transition that back. I'll transition that back to Bogaerts back to the Red Sox because Nick, you could play your sound effect again because
what the f-?
Yeah, because that's what Red Sox fans are yelling at Chaim Bloom for. Because think about it. So they trade away Betts. They don't re-sign Bogaerts.
Johnny, this is the real sound effect that they should be playing.
What?
When was the last time
you did a proper? Come on, YouTube. I was going to play the bankrupt sound effect.
The Wheel of Fortune one?
This one.
Oh, awesome! I love the game show stuff. Excellent.
So that should be the Red Sox.
But think about it though. So they don't re-sign Bogaerts. They trade away Betts. They don't sign back Schwarber, who ends up leading the National League in home runs. Their big signing over the last 2 years was Trevor Story, who had a down year last year.
I mean, I said this to you guys. I'll say it again, and to all Red Sox fans.
Next.
Well, all Red Sox fans, as soon as Trevor Story makes his first error, bring us Bogaerts! Get rid of this guy!
So Did you guys see Bloom trying to lead a "Let's Go Red Sox" chant at a rally?
Oh, God. I mean, that probably didn't get off of the ground, probably, right?
Yuck.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, God.
The
Let's
next Wheel
go.
of Fortune thing you need, Hank, is the is when they call for a letter and it's not there. That's the next sound effect you
Oh
need.
no! Oh no!
Right.
Yeah. Let's go across town, guys.
Yeah.
Let's cross
Okay.
town to the New York Mets. So they actually have, despite losing out on Jacob deGrom, obviously they now have Justin Verlander to replace, and now the Mets are the winners of the Kodai Senga sweepstakes, signing him to a 5-year deal with a 6-year option.
What, for Senga?
For Senga?
5 years, $75 million.
Right, and
I
6-year
think there's
option.
an opt-out after that third year.
After the opt-out after the third year. David Robertson joining the Mets, Carlos Quintana joining the Mets, and as we mentioned, Brandon Nimmo re-signed 8 years, $162 million.
Okay, I'm going to use a sound effect, but it's not going to be the way you would think of it appropriately.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Now, the reason I bring that one up is because we'll get to that circus later.
That's that same difference.
No, you know what sound effect I think would be appropriate if the Mets fall apart?
I don't know.
Johnny.
What?
Play it, Johnny.
Oh, yes. I don't have that one up here, though. But
whatever that vaudeville sound is.
But the reason I brought up that circus music was because Steve Cohen tax has been created. $400 million, or 2% of Steve Cohen's net worth, has been spent. Yes, has been spent in the offseason. He doesn't even blink. Like, he just looked at that $400 million and said, "Oh, it's in my pocket. Let me grab it and say, here you go. Here's $400 million. I don't need that. I'll just make it back in a week." He basically Jeff Bezos everybody.
Well, here's the thing. So I do think the Mets on paper look like they have a better team. Keyword, on paper.
I said in my minute when it came to the Kodai Senga signing. You know, they've made some great signings. I think that Carlos Quintana and Johnny, you made mention of it too.
And I brought this up with Johnny earlier. And you want to hear a fun fact?
Okay.
David Peterson is the lone homegrown pitcher in the Mets rotation.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so Tom, the Mets have now like 8 to 9 options in that rotation going into next season, which I think is smart, and I actually think the Mets have actually had a very, very good offseason so far.
But like I mentioned in my minute, the question is this going to finally get them a pennant, let alone maybe a World Series title?
Well, I don't think they could duplicate the 101 wins they had last year. I mean, that's so difficult to do. See, here's what I would say. Verlander and Scherzer, I would sign up for 25 starts from each of them next year because they're going to get hurt at some point. I mean, age is going to come to fruition, but that's why you look at these moves, and I love the Jose Quintana signing for 2 years and $26 million, I think it was, because last year, you know, and I was battling Met fans on Twitter about this. They couldn't stand the signing, and I'm like, guys, Jose Quintana made 32 starts last year. You know, you need a guy that can go out there every 5 days and give you 5 to 6 innings, and Quintana did that last year.
The one problem you have with the signing is he does get shelled from time to time.
There's that possibility, but also at the same time, you know what? He only gave up 8 home runs last season,
which is fine.
Walker, right? And you had Taijuan Walker, who I think, Hank, you were at a game once where it looked like he gave up 8 home runs against the Braves in 1 inning.
That was the game where I was with Tom and I met James and Kyle for the first time.
Right. I remember.
Shout out to my review and preview squad.
Yeah,
well,
I remember you saying
that's the thing about Taijuan Walker is that in 2020 it looked like a very underrated.
Funny. No, the real funny part about that game. Sorry to interrupt you guys. Tom was the one that day who told me, watch Taijuan Walker give up a lot of bombs. He is a fly ball pitcher. His record is deceptive. Guess what happens? The Braves hit like a gajillion home runs off him.
Okay, but
he gets, as Noah Dibler would say, boat raced.
Well, it's funny because 2020, 2021, he looked like a very underrated and could have been very utilized very well by the Mets. But like you guys mentioned, that basically over the last year and a half, he has just become. I mean, granted, he might have been a fly ball pitcher already, but like it just got to the point where he became more of a liability as a starting pitcher.
By the way, I need to give something to the Phillies, by the way.
Congratulations, dickweeds.
Because you signed him to a 4-year, $72 million deal, this guy who hasn't pitched well at all?
So, Nick, that's exactly where I'm going to go at with all
That's
this. So
such
let's
a
take a
Dave
look.
Dombrowski move, too.
Yeah.
It's
But
true.
think about it. So, what the Mets were able to do here was they pretty much let's talk about this like it's a trade. So they traded away DeGrom, Walker, and Bassett, and got Quintana, Verlander, and Senga, and are going to get back Joey Lucchesi, and they've got Eliezer Hernandez from Miami,
Robertson.
and David Robertson in the bullpen, but David Peterson, maybe Tyler McGill goes back into the rotation. The rotation's deeper. I will take my chances with less money and more durability from Verlander over DeGrom. And it's not a knock on DeGrom, but it's just, he's getting all that money to go to Texas. We don't know if he's going to be able to last that whole entire contract. But I think what the Mets have done here, I don't know if they necessarily have gotten better. I think they got smarter in the moves that they've made in terms of the rotation. Yes, there's risk involved with bringing in an aging guy like Verlander and having them and Scherzer up there. But, getting like the Jose Quintanas of the world, getting back these like the David Petersons and the Joey Lucchesis, they're at least got a deeper rotation going into this season. Now, of course, we'll see what happens. I love them bringing back Brandon Nimmo. As I said, as a Yankee fan, I think he would have been perfect on the Yanks as a leadoff guy who gets on base, provides good defense. He would have been great. And David Robertson, the only thing you're hoping with Robertson is that it's not 1 year too late with him.
Yeah, but here's the problem with the Mets. And by the way, I can't believe Bassett signed a 3-year deal with the Blue Jays. If that was the case, the Mets could have made that happen in a heartbeat. The reports were that he wanted a 5-year deal, and that's why the Mets were scared off. The other moves you look at, I'm like, all right. First of all, you don't know if Kodai Senga is going to work out. We've seen 50-50 on Japanese pitchers coming from Japan. We don't know. So, and also, people are going to throw stuff at me too. Justin Verlander is a question mark.
I agree with you, but I mean, you at least got him on a shorter term than DeGrom.
Correct. That's what I was trying to argue last week.
Right, but Hank said it well. What did you call them? Geriatric?
Yeah, the geriatric 1-2 punch.
Yeah, well, that's why I said I'd sign up next year. I'd sign up for 25 starts from each of them.
So let me ask you a question:
Scherzer and Verlander.
So if they both go down with massive injuries in the first half of the season, what are Mets fans going to say, and how the heck do you fix that if that happens?
It's the risk you take, Nick. I mean, they have to. I think Met fans have to understand that. You've got two guys in their late 30s. They have to understand that. But Verlander is not worth $46 million. I'm just going to say that straight up. Well, I agree. But you know what though? I also don't think that DeGrom was worth 5 years and 185.
He was getting less.
That was a desperation signing.
But it was less on the AAV. Explain that one to me. For the younger pitcher, you're paying less AAV. Well,
because he's 2 years. Because Verlander's only going to be for 2 years, and DeGrom would be for 5.
I don't know. I think DeGrom was treated really poorly when it came to getting paid over the years. They kept going to every other pitcher and every other player besides DeGrom.
Well, I think that's what I think ultimately did DeGrom in was Scherzer.
Well, also no taxes.
Scherzer come here and get what he got, and DeGrom, who you can make the case arguably had better years than Scherzer, not get that money.
Well, yeah, there's also no taxes in Texas.
Well, again, that's why when he tells you that, I went to Texas because I thought I have a better chance to win a World Series, he's really saying he went to Texas because he got.
He's a liar. That's so BS in every way, shape, or form.
Wait, did you say liar?
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God! Stop your fucking lying.
I love that. That's been fun all year.
All right. Let's go off of the baseball. Let's talk about one football story. We're not going to get to our rapid rundown recap for just a second, but we do have to mention a football story, guys, and that is that Tom Brady might be coming back for another year.
Oh! Why? Why? Why does Tom Brady have to keep ruining our lives? Why? I would go one step better.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I mean, the NFC South is the greatest division in all of football this year.
Pick the very first topic of Game On back in March was when Brady was you and I talking about Brady ending his 39-day retirement.
Wow.
And the one thing I remember bringing up with you at that time was if he came out of retirement like he did, he was not doing it for just 1 year.
I get it, but you can't lose 35-7 against Mr. Irrelevant, now relevant Brock Purdy.
I mean, he's weighing all sorts of options now. Is it worth it? I mean, was it worth it to basically ruin your family life, have a down year, basically, where you're like, this is a bad year on your legacy? Probably not. But at the same time, he's weighing all sorts of options. And now there's a rumor that he and Belichick may have a reunion in New England.
Yeah, it's gotten that bad in New England with we saw on Monday night, I think, who was it? Oh, Mac Jones was yelling again at Matt Patricia in the offense. Matt
Patricia needs to be out of the league.
And I will say one thing about the Bucs. I was looking at it too. We were talking about going into the season, their offensive line being very, very important. It had struggled down the stretch in the playoffs last year. And this year, it's not been healthy. And I'm not saying that's the reason why Brady's struggling, but I don't care who you are. You don't have a good offensive line. I mean, I'm noticing that with my team first and foremost, how our offensive line is starting to fall apart. And, if you don't have your offensive line there, and I think they're missing all five of those guys in the O-line have missed time at points this year. I don't care who it is. I don't care if you're the GOAT or you're a first-year quarterback. You know what? It's hard to win games.
No, you know what the answer is? You don't have Gronk.
That's... Yeah, but he has offensive weapons, too. Leonard Fournette, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Now, granted, all of them have also gone through injuries. There was a point this season where there was like one or two games where Julio Jones was basically his wide receiver one.
Okay, but Julio Jones is a shell of himself.
That's my point.
I mean, you could say that, who is it, Godwin? He's a shell of himself too because he can't stay healthy. So, but forget the excuses. Tom Brady just looks off. Look at the statistics. He's had the most, I think, interceptions of his career, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
he's not a top 10 quarterback for the first time in his career.
All fair. There's no. If it wasn't for the NFC South, I mean, this would be a totally different conference. I think we'd be talking about it even more of a totally different conversation with Brady.
This is a down year. This is a bad year. This is the worst year of Brady's career.
If the freaking Panthers beat you with their quarterback debacle, then that says that you need to go away and retire.
And they play him again in a couple of weeks.
And if they don't win that, he might as well just say goodbye and forget about it. Go into the Fox booth and make $375 million.
Right now, I mean, I know we're 2 weeks out from that game, but I mean, how can you not favor Carolina in that game right now?
I mean, guys, I'm telling you, Brady's going to be 75, and he's going to be coming out onto the field with his walker, and he's going to be snapping the ball while, holding the walker in one hand and him in the other.
Brady. Oh man.
Old man Brady.
That's why, I mean, considering all options, I mean, I still believe that he didn't come back out of retirement for just 1 year.
You know what?
He also came out of retirement because he wanted to prove Adam Schefter wrong and kind of break the news on his own.
Well, but I know that, but I mean, what else does he have to prove though in life? I mean,
he's got 7 rings.
I know.
What else does he have to prove? I mean, and he's got his own radio show.
Adam Schefter wrong, but like Adam Schefter broke the news, and Brady wanted to be the one to do it.
Let's get something very clear. Adam Schefter's an idiot. Okay, Adam Schefter has his own journalistic issues when it comes to breaking news, and at the same time, there's rumors of him giving gifts and paying off agents for news.
Fair, but you know what? Also, his job is to break news. If he managed to get the scoop out there before Brady got it out there, I mean, That's journalism, baby.
But, well, who cares? So let them break the news on you. You have more money than Adam Schefter has. You think you really care about what he does?
But that's my point. If Brady, if part of it was that, then that's petty on Brady.
Well, Brady's a petty person. Same thing with LeBron James. Same thing with a bunch of other athletes. You have a bunch of petty athletes who've made millions. LeBron being $1 billion.
Wait,
shouldn't be caring about what
$1 billion. $1
billion.
All right. Speaking of
$100 million.
Okay, it's time to turn the key into Nick Morgasen a little bit. Time to really jab at him.
Oh no.
So the Nets recently played a game, I think it was against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Won that game in spite of the fact that they were missing 8 players, including
It was
Kevin
the Pacers.
Durant.
It was the Pacers.
Indiana Pacers, right. Indiana Pacers. Including Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Ben Simmons. It's our favorite term in the NBA, everybody. Load management.
I gave up on the Nets. I pretty much gave up on the Nets this year. Like I haven't even watched a Net game. That's how bad a Net fan I am right now.
Oh.
Wow.
I totally just like maybe when they show up on ESPN when they're running the national games, which they haven't. I guess that goes to show you, even when you have KD and Kyrie, that you're not ending up on the nationally televised broadcast. They must not think you're that important.
As far as the load management goes, gentlemen, I think I want to do something here.
There it is.
It's an Adam Silver slip up. Because
And
what
that
has
rolls
he
off
done
the
to
tongue
stop
so
load
well.
management?
Wow. I was waiting for that to make an appearance.
What
I mean,
has he done to stop load
so well,
management?
by the way.
It has worked out so well. But to go back to the Nets situation, I mean, just KD, Kyrie, I could give 2 shits about Ben Simmons. So if he's injured or not, I could care less. And then just a bunch of other players. And Johnny pointed it out when we did Game On. Like these names that are putting up 30 points and 20 points in the game. It was insane. Cam Thomas had 33 points leading the way. Who?
The real crazy thing out of all this was all those players being out, right? And the Nets still, not only did they win, but they won 136 to 133. So think about all those players being out and the Nets still putting up 136 points with Cam Thomas leading the way with 33, Patty Mills, who we know, 24, Edmund Sumner, 21, Day'Ron Sharp, 20, Markieff Morris, I remember him from the Clippers, he's 15, Yuta Wannabe, who is probably going to become, he's like the up-and-coming guy, you said. But just some of these other names, Nick, you were saying this, Kessler Edwards, David Duke Jr., Alondas Williams, both
Who?
action. Exactly. But hey, you know what? They got the win, and the Brooklyn Nets, despite the Kyrie drama, despite the Ben Simmons drama, despite everything else, are 17-12.
Yeah, and the worst part is the NBA technically can't do anything because they won the game.
Well, see, that's why I think that this was probably the worst thing that could happen, because if you're trying to avoid this from happening, and I put out there reasons that wouldn't totally eliminate load management days, but ways that you can reduce the possibility of having it, like i.e. shortening the regular season, which I know they're not going to do. Instead, they're trying to lengthen it with the whole play-in tournament or any of these tournaments.
Joke.
Look at all the failure.
Thank you. That's actually where I was going to go.
Guys, when the CBA is up, whenever it's up in the NBA, I mean, I think
they extended to the 15th.
Which just goes to show you that they're doing these little like extensions and stuff.
It's MLB. It's MLB all over again.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we've been down this road before, and the NBA is running into a lot of problems here that we could spend an entire episode on.
And the one quick story I'll tell, and I told it to the guys. Do you remember, Tom, what happened to the Spurs when Kawhi Leonard originally started this thing? And then Popovich decided to sit out Duncan and Parker and Manu and set out the 4 when they went to Miami.
It set the precedent, which, by the way, the NBA and the CBA. So the current 7-year CBA expires after the 23-24 season, but either side can opt out, which means by July 1st, guys, we might be looking at work stoppage like we did with MLB for NBA.
I think that could happen, and I'm gonna blow a shit if the NBA season gets locked out. I'm just telling you now.
Take it from me, who saw the MLB lockout coming a mile away. It is inevitable that basketball is going to be in a lockout.
I mean,
While I agree, Johnny. While I agree, I think after all the shit of the last few seasons with the NBA, after being the sport that was on the rise that could have overtaken or can overtake MLB, maybe even take NFL if the NFL gets into too much shit. If they opt out, all of that progress goes to the wayside.
Well, let me finish that example I was talking about, and then I want to give you one more. So when the Spurs set out the Big Four back in the day, like I said, they got fined $250,000 because what channel was that game on? Does anyone remember?
ESPN.
No.
TNT.
It doesn't TNT. It doesn't matter. It would have been right either way with a national game.
National game, yeah.
And you know how the NBA is about their nationally televised games. They do not fuck around with their national televised games. And then I don't know if you remember. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. Do you remember the Steph Curry fan that was holding up the sign in the stands? The little girl who was, I think, was in Denver, where
she wanted to see Steph Curry play,
and he was sitting due to I don't know if that was load management though. I'm not 100% sure. It might have been, but they caught wind of the sign and they invited her a game in Golden State. I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to make it up to the fans. These fans are paying a shitload for tickets, and then you're not seeing the players. Load management is putting money in the pocket of the teams and taking it away from the fans. That's what it's doing.
One more story before we get to rapid rundown. And it comes from the world, guys, of World Wrestling. Well, it's not called World Wrestling Entertainment anymore. It's just the lone acronym WWE. Woo! So, Vince McMahon apparently has some more demands against him from alleged sexual misconduct victims. Actually, I think one of them is an alleged rape victim. However, that is not stopping Vince McMahon in that he wants to return to the WWE. He wants back in charge.
Why? You know what? When you went away, everything was peaceful. No one needed to hear you yelling and screaming, God damn it. Like, I don't need to hear any of that stuff. Just like, enough. Go away. Go away. No one wants to hear you.
According to the Wall Street Journal, which I'm actually going to be using the New York Post because I don't have the subscription, a woman by the name of Rita Chatterton, who is 65 right now, and is known as the first female referee in WWE history, or earlier this year during the times where all this was coming out about Vince, broke her silence and basically implied that she was sexually assaulted by Vince McMahon in the back of a limousine 40 years ago, and she wants him to pay $12 million.
Yeah, good luck with that.
At the same time, there is a spa worker who alleges that McMahon basically had sexually assaulted her in 2011, and she apparently has been in contact with Vince McMahon's lawyer, who is, I think, the longtime lawyer for WWE, Jerry McDevitt.
Yeah, I've heard that name. By the way, have you noticed in all these sexual allegations of athletes or big-time owners or commissioners, there always seems to be a spa involved?
Yes,
Robert
indeed.
Kraft.
What'd you say, Hank?
Sounds like Robert Kraft.
Well, I'm just saying, like, every time an allegation comes out of the world of sports, it's in a spa.
Yeah, what is it with spas?
I don't know. I think spas are dirty. Anyway.
But as far as him returning to the organization, I mean, he basically is alleging that he got the wrong advice to retire. Here's the problem with that. So now your daughter, Stephanie McMahon, and Nick Khan But we've already talked about how quickly Nick Khan rose since coming to the WWE 2 years ago.
He was an agent.
He was a CAA agent, and now he's basically co-CEO of WWE. It's insane.
Amazing.
But imagine, and then Triple H, Paul Levesque, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, now he took over the creative side of things. Now, if you try to bring your way, now granted, Vince McMahon is still the lead shareholder in WWE, but if he tries to come back, how the heck is that going to work out?
It's not. It's not going to work out. It's going to be hell, major hell.
And the optics of it are just going to look insane.
I mean,
it sounds awful.
What I will say is, and Hank will like this, but the way I think of this whole situation, if Vince were to come back,
wow,
still not better than Ben Stein.
But this whole thing is a disaster. The daughter runs it. He could probably well, God, that's going to sound inappropriate, but I don't mean it to be.
I'm Ben Stein. Try to win my money.
Yes, another game show reference. Absolutely.
I was gonna say, well, he's probably whispering in her ear anyway what's going on to the WWE, but I should be careful with that because that could be a little inappropriate.
But yeah, I first of all, Vince actually listening to people and like taking other people's advice. I mean, when has he ever done that before? Unless it was his lawyer or somebody. This is so weird. I don't see how he can make a comeback from this.
He can't. He can't make a comeback. The damage has been done.
In fact, let me use some lyrics from his entrance video. No chance in hell. All right?
No chance. That's what you got.
That's right. No chance. Exactly. I'll just say the words. I won't sing them. But you get where I mean, listen. I mean, I haven't watched wrestling in years, but even I remember those days.
Oh, God. Wow.
All right, guys, let's do some recapping quickly of NFL Week 14. So we started with
I'm afraid to know the records.
Let's say
I think Johnny and I had decent records.
Not this week.
Nick?
We didn't.
Oh,
no, we were like the Buccaneers. We went under 500 again this week.
Oh,
you mean more like the entire NFC South?
Yeah, I mean, I have it right here. 6-7 for me, and Hank went 5-8. Hank and I were different in 5 games, and I got 3 of them.
God, I'm afraid.
But it's still close, though. I mean, with 4 weeks to go, I got a 4-game lead, but I'm not taking anything for granted. It's a crazy league.
I went 2-8-3.
Oh,
2-8-3 this week.
Oh God!
How did I do?
You went 4. I think either 6-7 or 4-7-1. However, you landed your lock. So
Nick hit his lock. Yeah.
Yes.
So the current
And you
standings.
guys and you and Nick did not.
Yeah,
right.
I didn't. So the current standings right now, Nick Morgasen has retaken a lead over me.
Yes!
Now by half a point.
God damn it.
112.5. I'm at 112. Federa is at 109.5.
Wow. So it's gonna come down the stretch.
What a week.
All right. But recapping all the events. So Thursday Night Football, we had a little repeat of Monday Night Football in which a team blows it in the fourth quarter, except this time, somehow Baker Mayfield pulled off a game-winning fourth quarter drive in the last minutes.
And by the way, can we pump the brakes on Baker Mayfield, please? Don't pick him up in fantasy. Don't treat him as a starter. Don't make him the next coming of, I can't even say that because that's inappropriate for religious purposes, but don't make him be the next god.
I mean, to be fair, on your argument, Nick, yeah, it was incredible, but the only reason they even got down the field in the first place, the Raiders had the turnover on downs, and then Jerry Tillery slapped the football out of Baker Mayfield's hand, which caused a 15-yard personal foul.
I'm so tired.
First down.
I don't know what a personal foul or what a roughing the passer is anymore.
I understand, but you can't slap the football out of the quarterback's hand, especially when the referee is looking right there.
Well, no, that was stupid.
That's like pulling out your cell phone in the middle of a high school classroom when your teacher is right there.
Well, you would know that, but but I was going to say that's like taking candy from a baby while all the cameras and everyone in the supermarket is watching.
I think the real crazy thing, though, also, let's not forget, too, this was 2 days after Baker's picked up off waivers. The Rams picked up 2 days off waivers from Carolina, and he then goes out there and, leads them on that 98-yard game-winning touchdown drive.
If he were smart, he would stay with the organization and be a backup behind Stafford.
Well, we're going to get into all this, but Baker, I think, was one of the big winners of the week because, you know what, there's going to be a market.
We know that's not happening.
It's not. But I'll tell you right now, I mean, Baker's going to have a market next year because all these quarterbacks that are going down, including, and I know we're going to get to it, but there's going to be a certain team out there in Arizona that's going to be looking for a stopgap guy next season.
So, well, that is true. Johnny, I have to tip my cap to you. You accurately predicted, out of the 5 of us, you were the only one who did it. The Lions ended up beating the Vikings this week.
Unreal.
Yeah, I tell you guys, I mean, and, I know how much Nick loves to talk about Vegas, and I think maybe Vegas was speaking a thing here because that's 2 out of the last 3 weeks that the Vikings, who are a 10-win team, were not favored in a game against an opponent that had fewer wins than them. But look, the way the Lions are playing right now, and if you look at their schedule, I mean, there is a clear path for the Detroit Lions to get into the playoffs this year. They just have to do their part, but I mean, it's very favorable coming down the stretch here.
Eagles beating the Giants 48-22. I mean, we saw this one coming, guys. This is
Jalen Hurts is the MVP. That's as strict as it gets.
The Eagles are. It's not a matter of the Giants are bad or Giants are banged up. In this case, it's a matter of the Eagles are one of, if not the best team in the National Football League right now.
I think the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. The way they're playing,
it's not. It's a possibility. It's a really good possibility.
I'll say this.
Sorry, Hank.
We're saying that right now, guys. But I mean, you have to put.
But
it
I
out
mean,
there.
listen,
Injuries...
Brian Attard says it best. Say what you want to. I mean, granted, what I'm saying is coming from one of the most epic Philadelphia haters that I know. And funny enough, I actually got to see Brian briefly at the game, and we both shook hands with Nick Fatiu. So that was pretty cool.
Sweet, nice. But,
just a little side tangent that I had to mention.
Two things about that real quick. Number one, we've seen in the league this year, and we have to put it out there. The Eagles, like any team, they could be one injury away from this entirely changing around. And number two, Tom, I agree with you, and I think Nick and I think Hank said the same thing too. That game on Sunday, to me, I think was more about the Eagles, how good they are versus the Giant woes right now. And it didn't matter if the Giants would have won. If the Giants would have won that game 48-22, the Giants, I mean, pretty much. A good chunk of this season is going to depend on Sunday night against Washington. That's where it's going to come down to.
It would have helped if you won the extra game.
But I mean, there's such a talent discrepancy. I mean, you saw there was one drive in that game Sunday with the Eagles that Hurts was throwing to 7 different receivers. And again, if the Giants' number 1 receiver right now is going to be Darius Slayton or Isaiah Hodgins, I mean, it's just not a fair matchup.
You're not going to win. And by the way, Darius Slayton, highest percentage of drops in the NFL this year.
Oh, good. Also, so somebody has to be. Somebody has to represent.
Correct. Now, granted, Bellinger,
Evan Ingram, as Evan Ingram catches 10 passes for 160.
Don't say his name.
What I was saying with
don't say Evan Ingram's name. He actually cost me a number 1 seed on a fantasy league this week.
Yes, 10 catches for 160 yards or something like that in Jacksonville last week. I know. Don't remind me.
Which, by the way, holy crap! The Jaguars beating the Titans 36-22.
I'm gonna say this again. I think the Titans are going to get upset again when they enter the playoffs.
They are looking like a team that could lose in the first round despite being a division winner. You're right.
Oh, AFC South again, another crappy division.
And also, by the way, going back to the Eagles, with the Eagles winning and the Vikings losing. Granted, it's not a clinch scenario yet, but it looks like the road to the Super Bowl in the NFC is gonna go through Philadelphia.
Yeah. And if that's the case, I don't think they lose.
Ravens edging out the Steelers 16-14. The New York Jets losing to the Buffalo Bills 20-12.
Yeah. Not surprised.
And now they find themselves the first team out if the playoffs were to start today. Bengals defeating the Browns 23-10. Cowboys just managed to eke out a win over the Texans 27-23.
Boy, that game didn't go the way we all thought it was going to.
You guys, all 3 of you at Empty the Bench, give you credit. All 3 of you said that the Texans would cover the 17.5. I thought there was no chance in the world.
Hang on a minute. Hold on a minute.
Oh no, no.
Yeah,
Oh, I got it. What do you need me here?
Broncos country, let's rock. Broncos country, Broncos country, Broncos country, let's rock.
The only thing I regret is I didn't have enough time to put stars around his head. So the Chiefs end up winning 34-28, but the Broncos ended up coming up on a pretty decent comeback in the second half.
Oh, bad backdoor cover there by Denver.
God damn it, Denver.
Well, the problem
Mahomes,
was
part of his Mahomes throwing 3 picks in that game.
That was it, and probably could have cost himself the MVP there in the AFC with that game.
He threw for 352 yards and only beat the Broncos by 6.
Yep, because of 3 picks. So, by the way,
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, exactly. What he said.
Russell Wilson hurts. We'll get to that in a second. Oh, by the way, Travis Kelce, now the 5th tight end in NFL history to eclipse 10,000 career yards and the fastest to hit that mark.
That man is worth every dollar they've paid him. Every dollar.
He is a number 1 receiver and a number 1 tight end. He is a 2-for-1 combo. 49ers blow out the Bucs, as we mentioned. Panthers upsetting the Seahawks 30-24.
I think Seattle's ran out of gas. Big time.
Well, you need it for the sake of the Giants. You need basically either the 49ers or the Seahawks to basically start going on a big losing skid, which kind of appropriate once we get to the rapid rundown. But just to mention, Sunday Night Football, Chargers beating the Dolphins 23-17 in a nail-biter. And the Patriots defeating the Cardinals 27-13 in probably the most injury-filled game of this season, which does include Kyler Murray. Very good transition, by the way, to the injury list, which all but one of the people on this list is a quarterback. Kyler Murray tearing his ACL.
90 seconds in.
Done for the season, and probably looking at a good chunk of next season as well.
I mean,
Mayfield.
Yeah. Deebo Samuel hurt. I think his season might be in danger.
They're saying it might not be.
Okay.
Yeah, they got a good prognosis there with Deebo, did the 49ers, so we might see him at the end of the regular season there.
For their sake, you better hope. Tyler Huntley going down, so now the Ravens are on their 3rd-string quarterback.
I mean, that situation is a nightmare. And by the way, the Ravens should learn from the Cardinals now that they've had a massive injury with that contract where they were afraid to pay it. Now they're stuck in it. I think that the Ravens are going to look back at Lamar and say, we might not pay this contract. It's not worth it because he wants more. He wants more than Deshaun got.
That's a good point there by Nick. I would not be surprised if, those events could lead. And, this is the 2nd straight year now that Lamar's been missing a length of time because of an injury.
Yeah, but I do think there will be a team who is desperate that will try.
There's no question about that.
Well, I could think of a team that's in blue attire that would take him.
Wait, but I don't think the Giants have the cap space.
Giants are not paying that kind of money.
You don't think they would even tread the tires on that one?
No,
I think they would tread the tires. I don't know if they would land it.
If you're the Giants, you cannot put all your eggs in one basket with anybody. I don't care who it is. They're not a Lamar Jackson away from being a 9 or 10 win team.
Also, even though I'm not Danny's biggest fan, unfair on him when he's having the season that he's having without any receivers. They need receivers in this offseason. That's where their focus has to be.
Do you think he's coming back?
Daniel Jones has passed the test this year.
I think you have to. I think, unfortunately, with the fact that they're at 7 wins right now and on playoff edge, you have to give them another chance.
Mm-hmm.
I say short. Now that being said, I give him a short-term deal. I wouldn't give him a long-term deal. I'd only do a season or two.
I mean, if you look at all the other, the funny thing is, if you look at all the other teams in the league right now, I don't think there really is another good landing spot for them.
Arizona.
But if you're paying all that money for Kyler, why are you going to pay money for Daniel Jones then?
If it's a 1-year flyer because Kyler's out for the year.
If it's a 1-year flyer, that's a different story. But that's why I think the Giants would do that.
Russell Wilson, as we said, seeing SARS, so there's a chance he may not play again this season.
He might be seeing stars, but he doesn't have any good stars.
Oh.
Yeah. Kenny Pickett, once again in the concussion protocol. This is concerning. I'm sorry, but this is a little concerning about Kenny Pickett. How every other week he seems to get hurt.
Yeah, what is it? Second concussion you were going to say, Johnny? I think that it's. I think it might even be his third concussion protocol, if I'm not mistaken. But this is worrying me because, again, if you watch Kenny Pickett play, he doesn't move his feet. He doesn't get out of the pocket. He'd rather get hit. Sound familiar?
Yeah, and he's not getting anything out of his running back Najee Harris this year, which is not helping the cause.
No.
Also, blame the line.
Disappointing.
Yep, line's not.
The offensive line is a disappointment.
If your quarterback is,
they want to be offensive linemen too.
Right.
They need to block as well as play defense.
I got to give credit, by the way, to the Jets, and particularly to one Jet, Mike White, trying to play through injury, getting the wind knocked out of you, coming back onto the field, and then going to the hospital.
Where is the dirty yellow laundry that's supposed to be thrown on the field when you get hit in the ribs twice? Seriously. We've seen, I don't know who said it to me, but someone said that we saw much less get flagged. Oh, was it you, Johnny?
Nick, go back to the Sunday night game between the Dolphins and the Chargers. Go back and watch that one play and tell me. I don't see, the problem is the way that roughing the passer is right now. It seems like every hit on the quarterback is a roughing the passer.
That's the problem. When you're someone like Tom Brady, who yells and complains like a baby every time he doesn't get a penalty call, and then you have Mike White, who literally almost got the ribs knocked out of his body, and they don't throw a flag at all. No discussion, no nothing. I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah, I mean, in an 8-point game, penalties matter.
Yeah, no, I mean, they had a chance. I mean, I had a feeling that game was going to be kind of on the lower scoring side. But and it looks like Mike White's going to be all right, which is good. But it almost begs the question: do you almost have to dress a third quarterback for Sunday?
I understand, and this is actually a rare case where I'm going to agree with Morgasen. The fact that you're in this playoff push, the fact that you've already turned to Mike White and you played Joe Flacco the couple of drives where White wasn't playing, you can't go back to Zach Wilson. You can't.
He only go back to Zach if White can't play. That's what I'm saying.
I wouldn't start him at all. That's just me.
It goes back to what somebody else said that I quoted on the show a couple weeks ago. Now that the Jets are in the position that they're in, the time for development. Now, with the word development, I know Nick Morgasen would want to use in air quotes, but the point is the time for development for Wilson, it's got to be put on pause, not when you have an opening like the Jets have right now.
Agreed.
The only concern that I have with the Jets right now is the two games upcoming that looked favorable. They might be getting the Lions and the Jaguars at the worst time.
Yeah,
that's the scary thing. But we'll see.
Let's go into it. It's time for the rapid rundown of NFL Week 15. So remember when I said that the Giants, for the sake of Giants fans and the Giants, they need either the Niners or Seahawks to start losing some games? Well, funny enough, Thursday Night Football this week, big divisional matchup. It is the 49ers as a 3.5-point favorite on the road in Seattle against those Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, as weird as this sounds, even with the Niners having a struggling quarterback issue, I would still take the Niners to cover. I still think they're the better team. I still think they have the better pieces. And Geno Smith looks a little lost the last couple games. I would take the money on that one.
I think that as the Seahawks, still, it's been a rough couple of games. However, I think they're still good. I think they're still in contention, and they can claim a wild card spot. However, what the game against the Bucs kind of proved is that what we've been talking about, the Niners are just an overall great team. Yes, Deebo Samuel is hurt. Yes, we have Brock Purdy, the third-string quarterback. However, even with those major losses, that team's still firing on all cylinders. CMC really having a resurgence now that he's out of Carolina. Brandon Ayuk, don't sleep on Brandon Ayuk because Brandon Ayuk is having tremendous games. George Kittle can be George Kittle. You got to go with the Niners. I agree. Take the money on this one.
Now, you guys are going to do your official lines, but if you just want to pick... Well, actually, this one you can give the line because this game's coming up.
It is a -3.5, yeah.
Yeah, that hook's a little scary, but the 12th man is not what it used to be like there in Seattle, and I totally agree with Nick Morgasen in that they look like they're exhausted and running on fumes, and Geno did not look good at all on Sunday. Yeah, I know Brock Purdy was dealing with a little bit of an oblique issue after Sunday's game. I guess he's going to be all right. I mean, otherwise you're going to your third string guy. At that point, you just direct snap it to the running back. Again, the hook scares me here, but I'm going to take San Francisco, so I'm going to take the money here.
Hank?
I'm also going to go with the San Francisco 49ers. Don't like the hook there, but I think overall they've got the talent. And, it's funny, but it seems like they might be playing better with Brock Purdy, even though it's only 2 games. So give me the Niners.
They just look more motivated. That's what it's weird.
You know who else we
They
need to
do.
give credit to for the 49ers? Kyle Shanahan.
Yes,
He has
absolutely.
proven
Yes.
a lot of years that he is one of the best offensive coaches in the NFL. And look how many running backs he's had good years with.
It's a good point.
For sure. Guys, for the first time, we're getting to that point in the NFL season now. We have Saturday football. We've got 3 Saturday matchups this week, beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's the Colts taking on the Vikings in Minnesota. The Vikings are a -4 favorite. Second chance for the Vikings. If they win here or they tie against the Colts, the NFC North is theirs.
All right, we could throw the tie out of the bag, even though I shouldn't say that because there was already a tie last week.
The loss to the Lions concerns me, but the Lions are playing with a lot of momentum. I know the Colts sometimes, under Jeff Saturday, it seems like it's weird to say, but under Jeff Saturday have a little bit of new life. But I mean, the Colts are not beating the Vikings. The Vikings will be your NFC North Division champions this on Saturday. Take the money.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Vikings are angry, to be honest. I think that was a bad loss. I think this is a turnaround game, and yeah, they win the division. Take the money.
I'm going to echo that totally. I mean, Vikings got to get out of having a negative point differential for the season here. So
Oh my God!
let's see them do it this week.
This is the week to do that.
I think so.
Hank?
I am going to go with the Minnesota Vikings.
All right, all around, take the money. The 4:30 Eastern slot, the Ravens and the Browns. Somehow the Browns are a 2.5 point favorite, and it might be because of the third string quarterback.
Yeah, and you know what they'll be? I'm sorry, you guys can go first. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead.
They're going to be saying,
Feel free.
Oh yeah, you know what they're going to be saying? They're going to say, "What can Brown do for you?" Now the question is what? Now the question though is, what Brown am I talking about?
The Browns have looked like.
I'm talking about Anthony Brown and the Baltimore Ravens. God, I wish this game could get up to 3.5, but Deshaun's just still rusty, and I almost feel more confident with Brissett under there. Upset special. I'm going with Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm going to second Johnny. The Browns I thought maybe something after the 1 week that could change around with the Browns, but no, they still don't look great. And granted, again, we have issues with the Ravens defense and holding leads and such. Ravens on their third string quarterback dealing with injuries, but I still see the Ravens as the better team over the Browns. The Browns could be the better team on paper, but like we said, Deshaun still needs to prove that, get the rust out of him and prove he can still be the Deshaun from 2018, 2019. I am also going to go with Johnny. I'm going to agree with Johnny. I'm also going to go upset city, Ravens.
Yeah, when we were talking about Brown, I hope you weren't talking about this.
Oh, thanks for ruining my appetite.
Sorry. Anyway, yeah, I'm echoing on the same front. I didn't like the way Deshaun looked last week. I still think Jacoby Brissett doesn't get enough respect for what he did leading up to Deshaun coming back.
And Nick, this is the second time he's had to play emergency fill-in. If you remember, when Andrew Luck retired, he had to play emergency fill-in for the Colts.
Yeah, but I still think this was a whole heck of a lot harder, knowing that he had to prepare coming into a season, not knowing if he was going to start or not. Now, we know the whole Ravens situation. Lamar's out. Huntley's out. I mean, what I want to know what happens if Brown goes down.
Who's the fourth stringer? Just for the heck of
it. Is that even a thing? Is there a such thing as a fourth-string quarterback on a?
Absolutely. I mean, you're going to be signing somebody off the practice squad. I mean, you're going to hear about that a lot this week, about guys coming off the practice squad.
Well, in the meantime, Ravens upset. Hank?
I wanted to play devil's advocate and say the Browns, but I can't do it. Deshaun Watson hasn't looked good, and I think a lot of that has to do with not having a preseason and the suspension, and I can't say he's going to get any better, and not to mention, I don't even know if he's going to get better at all, so give me the Ravens.
Wow, so we're an upset across the board there.
Yeah, this
we
is
don't
an
know
upset
if
across.
as
So
of
we
right
had
now,
two take the monies across the board.
What did you say, Johnny?
I was going to say, we still don't know
Nope.
officially as of now if Huntley's going to clear protocol, but because this is a short week for the Ravens, I'd be very surprised if he does clear it in time.
He's not going to clear that in time. Short week, he's not going to clear it. At least I don't think. All right, where are we going next?
Brett Huntley, by the way, I think is the backup.
See, I'm just looking at some scenario. Oh, by the way, hold on.
What?
There is one scenario I did forget. The 49ers, so that if the 49ers beat the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football, the 49ers actually clinched the NFC West.
Oh, so that kind of takes one of your scenarios out of the equation if they win.
Yeah. So basically, if the 49ers win, then for the Giants, you got to hope the Seahawks go on a big losing streak.
See if it happens.
Moving back over to Saturday's games. We got a big one, gentlemen. This is, I think,
What did you say, Johnny?
I was going to say Anthony Brown and Brett Huntley would be the backup if we do get to a fourth stringer. Brett Huntley was last in the league in 2019 with the Arizona Cardinals. Also spent a couple of years with Green Bay.
I was going to say that name sounded familiar. Okay, Go ahead.
All right. Main event this weekend, I think the game of the week, the Dolphins at the Bills in Buffalo, Saturday, 8:15 Eastern. The Bills are a 7.5-point favorite.
Right off the bat, I think this is going to be my lock this week.
Really? And you're lock in favor of who?
The Bills. And the reason I say that, and I said it on Game On, I'll say it here. When you go from 80-degree weather to 20-degree weather where it's going to be a sloppy mess with cold and snow, Tua is going to struggle like there's no tomorrow. Yeah, this is an easy lock this week, Bills.
All right. Johnny?
Yeah, it's a decent. God, I wish it was under 7, but Nick's right. The Dolphins have not played in freezing cold temperatures yet this year. And remember, when these two played each other earlier in the season down in Miami, the Bills were down a lot of defensive guys, and the Dolphins were able to take advantage of that, which was good for them. But God, see, the only thing that scares me is that line might be a little bit too high, and sometimes what might happen in snowy weather like that is you might have a lower scoring kind of game. But I'm going to agree with Nick here. I don't know if I'm going to take this as a lock, but I will take it as a winner for Denver for Buffalo.
Hank?
Can I be the one person that differs?
Yeah.
You can if you want to be.
Doesn't mean I think the Dolphins will win, but I think they might cover. I don't really like the idea of giving such a high spread like within a division rivalry game, despite the weather.
I'm actually going to agree with Hank. The 7.5.
Whoa! Okay.
It scares me. I kind of actually, you know what? I want to play meteorologist. I want to look at the weather in Buffalo for Saturday.
Wow, we've played meteorologist twice.
Right,
we need a sponsor for it.
So what I had heard before was there's talking about possibly 7 inches of snow.
Saturday. It's going to be very snowy. The weather for Buffalo on Saturday.
If that's the case, if that's the case, Tua is not winning. I'll tell you that now. They don't play
if that's
snow.
If that's the case, I agree. Bills win. I think 7.5. If it's going to be a very snowy game, it's going to be way too much. I think it's going to be low scoring and close. So,
I think that helps the Bills.
Cover.
I think that helps the Bills because they play in that weather.
By the way, 7 inches when they just had 6 feet a few weeks back. What's another 7 inches on top? Right.
Well, not to mention, Josh Allen's pretty good in the cold.
Right.
I agree. So wait. So Hank, are you going to take the money then?
You know what? I probably should. Sorry to go back on it.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know what? I'll go back on it too.
I'll go until Friday, so you have a chance to reverse that.
You guys have that fortune. I don't. So you know what? Screw it. I'll just take the money.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
That's right.
We got the
bad
That hook
influences.
does scare me though. That hook scares me.
Yeah, you are a bad
See,
influence. I picked the Niners. I said the Niners were going to cover, and I went Niners no cover last week because of you guys' convincing arguments, and they killed the Bucs.
That's my bad because I'm the one that started that trend.
That's why I'm behind a half a point.
Yeah.
By the way, scenario.
Yeah.
By the way, scenario. The Buffalo Bills host Miami on Saturday night. With a win, the Buffalo Bills will lock up a playoff berth. They cannot clinch the division, but they can secure a berth with a win over the Dolphins on Saturday.
And Hank, we'll see. Maybe this drops to 6.5 by when we do our picks later this week. You never know.
You never know.
Sure.
All right. Moving on to the Sunday games. Falcons versus Saints. The Saints are a 4-point favorite at home. Guys, I'm just going to be honest. I think the Saints are one of the most underwhelming teams. Now, granted, it's the NFC South, but man, I knew they weren't going to be great, but they're really bad. And Alvin Kamara has just been a major bust this season, in fantasy-wise and numbers-wise. He has not looked great. I'm worried this might be the beginning of his regression. Andy Dalton, much better quarterback than Jameis, but still, they just can't get anything going. The Falcons have shown signs and have at one point looked like they could lead the division.
They switched quarterbacks.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. This is the debut of Desmond Ridder. That is the thing, though.
Now, they said they were switching due to quarterback. I heard that he's done for the season, Mariota.
I still don't trust the Saints. I'm still going to go upset.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm with you on this one. I'm taking the upset on the Falcons, too. Guys?
Johnny, Hank?
So it is going to be Desmond Ridder for Atlanta, and it's going to be Andy Dalton for the Saints. Oof, boy, this is a huge NFC South game. No, seriously, it is a huge NFC South game. I just have to saying that because it really is.
He's actually not joking.
I know.
I don't know if I'm gonna go the full upset special, but I'm going to take Atlanta because I think Desmond Ridder by accident is going to play better than what Mariota was playing the last couple of weeks here. And I just don't know what the Saints really are. You know, you guys make a great point with that, and at that point, it may be a field goal game. So I'm going to take the +4 with Atlanta.
Hank?
Yeah, Saints. They pretty much stink. Their goose is cooked, and I would have to say that Dennis Allen's going to be gone at the end of the season. Give me the Falcons.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Give me the team with the better coach of the year candidate.
Eagles at the Bears. The Eagles are a 9-point favorite.
All right. Do we even have to talk about this game?
No, I'm going Eagles.
Yeah, this one should be as easy as it gets. All we get Eagles.
Da Bears.
Wait, really?
What?
No, I'm kidding. Give me.
No, I know that reaction. I know that.
I was going to be like, really?
I don't think there's really much to break
down this. I don't think there's much to break down in this game. So let's make it a true rapid reaction sweep here. Give me Philadelphia.
All right. Cowboys at the Jags. The Cowboys are a 4.5 favorite. The Cowboys going into Jacksonville territory. And Jacksonville, like we said, they kind of won a couple of games and actually have Trevor Lawrence.
This actually was a good game.
And I think we have a scenario here. Let me check. Yeah, the Cowboys can clinch a playoff spot through 6 different scenarios. However, the easiest is they clinch a playoff spot with a win here.
This is where
knowing them, they won't win.
This is where Kevin,
Wait,
Greg,
are you
Aaron,
going
and Tom
upset City?
Be.
Oh, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that knowing them, whenever they need to clinch or figure out something, they never do it.
I'm gonna take Jacksonville plus the 4.5. I'm not gonna say they win, but I'm gonna grab the points. The Cowboys are still, they had 2 favorable weeks to try and work out their passing and their woes, and they haven't done it. Now, I'm not gonna say that they're gonna lose this game, but I don't know 4.5. It might be a little bit too high here, going down into Jacksonville. So I'll grab the plus points there.
I think that's a fair prediction.
I don't know.
Hank?
Hank's been kind of on the Jaguar train this year. I'm curious what he's going to go with here.
Upset special.
There it is.
Oh.
See, I'm leaning that direction, but I don't know.
Which is why,
Yeah.
Nick, I'm going to side with Johnny. I think the Cowboys are the safer pick in terms of a game, but I think you got to split it here and just say Cowboys no cover because the Cowboys are very vulnerable. We saw last week against the Texans. The Cowboys are a very vulnerable team. So I'm
Well,
going
that
Cowboys
line
no cover.
that line was insane. First of all, 17 and a half.
But still, it was only 4 points.
No, I
Another
understand,
one
but
of those.
the Jaguars are definitely a better team than the Texans. I think we can all agree on that front.
Yeah.
That's not even a debate. But at the same time, the Cowboys need to come to the field and play football, which they have not really been doing so much. Dak needs to step up and win a game. Like that was embarrassing. They were down 20-0 like through the first half.
Yeah.
All right. I'm taking the Cowboys to cover because I think they need to come out and win the game. They're going to come out and they're going to be aggressive and they have to win. So I'm going to take them to cover.
See that too. Yep.
All right, that's fair. Got Nick Morgasen taking the money here. We now go on to Nick Morgasen's New York Jets taking on the Lions at MetLife. Nick, this is a rarity we have on this podcast. However, this is going to be a pick'em game. So the lines are kind of all over the place. Some have the Jets as a -1 or -0.5, Lions as a -1. So this is a complete pick'em. So there is no half point you can earn for a spread or a right prediction, but wrong spread. This is an all or nothing, 1 whole point or 0 points.
Yeah, this might be different by the time the guys do it for game on. There might actually be a point spread for it.
It's been fluctuating already all week.
But I
Which is
think part of
ridiculous.
it has to do. I think part of that has to do with Mike White's injury. However, regardless of that, the Lions just have been playing too well. Then the Vikings felt their wrath last week, and I think it continues. I'm picking the Lions.
I'm trying to fight myself over just wanting to pick the Jets. I'm taking the Lions.
I like the
Yeah.
Lions' offensive.
That's-
I like the Lions' offensive line. I like their defensive players. You know how much I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think the cold weather plays a factor here because we saw them go into MetLife against the Giants a couple of weeks ago and play great. I think it continues here. I'm taking Detroit.
Hank?
I want to go with the Jets because it would help the Giants, but I think you guys know how I viewed the Lions. Give me Detroit.
Yeah.
There we
good
go.
sweep on the Lions. All right. We have next the Steelers taking on the Panthers. The Steelers the Panthers are a -2.5 point favorite.
Yeah, if Kenny Pickett's going to be in concussion protocol and he's going to be out in this game, there's no way in the world I'm taking Mitch Trubisky in this spot. I'm taking Carolina. Give me Sam Darnold. Even though Darnold will not have to do much. I mean, we saw Darnold didn't turn the ball over last week. You saw Hubbard and Foreman have great run games. I think it continues here. I'm taking Carolina in a huge game for them up there in North Carolina on Sunday.
I'm just going to look at Johnny's argument. I'm just going to look at Johnny's arguments, and I'm going to pull Nick there and say what he said. Take the money.
Yeah, this if he's in concussion protocol, there's no way they win this game, which I think is what's probably going to happen. So take them up. Hank?
I'm going to go with the Panthers. Got to ride the hot hand.
All right.
They've been playing well with
the
quarterback.
And laying less than a field goal helps here too.
It's true.
Biggest line of the week: the Chiefs at the Texans in Houston. The Chiefs are
Again.
a -14 favorite.
Again, the Texans are in this predicament.
So something like I said last week regarding the Patrick Mahomes taking on the Broncos, how he came off a loss. Well, not only is he now coming off a loss, but he's coming off a game where he really didn't play that well. I think he takes it out on the team, and also doesn't look like no Dameon Pierce for Houston. So the only offensive guy that Houston has is not in this game. I'm taking Kansas City easily to win and cover this one.
By the way, we have a playoff scenario. If the Chiefs win, they are the AFC West champions, and
That's a given.
Yeah, I know. We just mentioned Dallas struggling, but you know what? Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys are two completely different games. Two different teams. I know Patrick Mahomes had 3 interceptions last week, but him and Travis Kelce, and he brings up all his other receivers. And Jerick McKinnon, by the way, playing his heart out. Jerick McKinnon is really stepping up as the new running back 1 over there in Kansas City. So you know what? Take the money. We'll have AFC West champions this week.
Hank?
Oh,
I'm assuming.
Stop giving the Chiefs.
Yeah. Yeah, this game is really easy. I know, and it's weird because the Texans are in back-to-back games of over 10 points. The Chiefs are a much different animal, for sure. Take the money.
And I think, by the way, that does it for the playoff. Yeah, that does it for the playoff scenarios. We go now to the Pats at the Raiders. This is basically a pick 'em too. The Pats are a 1-point favorite against the Raiders.
This is what I call a BS game, and I would stay far away from it.
Yeah, I
really
would
would.
not bet this game. I honestly, this is bad.
It boils down to something
I'm
very
going to give my
simple,
reasoning
guys.
for this.
Uh-oh. What?
My pick for this is simply this. Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels. Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels. Give me the pass.
Yeah.
What
Johnny,
Hank said.
you were gonna say.
There's nothing else that needs to be said.
All right, I'll just do it for the
Take the
two of
money.
us then.
All right. Yeah, take the money. So we're all agreeing that on the Pats on that one. And now it's time for a game of utter crap. And with that, gentlemen, I'm going to bring in. Hold on. I need a better way to describe this game. Hold on one second here. I think I have the way.
Oh no!
Is it muted?
Broncos country, Broncos country, Broncos country. Let's ride.
Broncos country. Let's ride. The potentially Russell Wilson-less Denver Broncos will be hosting the definitely not having Kyler Murray Arizona Cardinals this week.
Broncos country, Broncos country, Broncos country. Let's ride.
And the Broncos are a -3 favorite.
This is bad. Like, this is literally like this is the battle of backups.
Colt McCoy versus Brett Ripien.
God, that's bad. Where do we go here?
I know where I'm going to go.
Okay.
Where are you going?
Give me the team with the better backup quarterback. Period. Arizona upset special. Colt McCoy over Brett Ripien, and that's it. Nothing else. No coach. Nothing.
I second that. As much as Kingsbury is a bad coach, I mean, Colt McCoy is a better quarterback, and we've seen him hold up pretty decently when it comes to Arizona, their offense. I mean, Cortland Sutton, I think, is still hurt for Denver. They got Jerry Jeudy back, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. I'm going to go with the Cardinals on this one. I'm going upset city.
I think the only reason why Denver is favored probably is because they're the home team. That's really the only reason why.
All right, I'm going to take the upset. Here's the deal, though. If Cliff Kingsbury doesn't win this game, he deserves to be fired. If he doesn't win this game,
I agree.
I'll take the upset with the Cardinals.
And I'm also going to continue to follow the rule of not picking the Broncos.
Hank?
Thanks, Nick Federa.
I beat him by 1 week by that rule.
I'm going to break Nick Federa's rule.
What?
What?
Are you taking the Broncos?
You heard me. I got to go differently. I don't even care about this game. I'm just picking.
That's fair. Save the pick when it counts later in the week, right? But yeah, just to
broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. There you go.
Oh man.
All right. Here's an interesting one. The Titans at the Chargers. The Chargers are a 2.5-point favorite in Los Angeles.
Ooh.
Do we really want to deal with the Chargers?
Let me see. Mike Vrabel, Brandon Staley. Mike Vrabel, Brandon Staley. Actually, no, I'm kidding. That logic doesn't really work. Give me the Chargers.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say they're
that-
both kind of crappy coaches.
No, I disagree with that.
No, I think
Mike Vrabel's a
a
good
solid
head coach.
I
He
mean,
just doesn't have any-
Vrabel's good. Vrabel's good, but I shouldn't put it on Vrabel. The Titans are an iffy team, however.
You have one offensive option. That's it.
Give the ball to Derrick Henry.
They should just direct snap it to Derrick Henry every time. Forget Ryan Tannehill. Oh, wait. Isn't he out for the rest of the season? If I'm not mistaken.
No.
I thought he was. Or I thought he got hurt.
I know he's been kind of banged up.
It doesn't matter. That's not helping. Chargers take the money.
Yeah, I don't think it's a question of Mike Vrabel versus Brandon Staley. I think it's Justin Herbert and his options versus Ryan Tannehill and his options. Only 2.5 is good enough. I'm gonna take the Chargers.
I'm gonna say take the money. Go Chargers. All right, now we get to another Sunday afternoon game. The last Sunday afternoon game, the Bengals 3.5-point favorites in Tampa Bay against the Buccaneers. After last week's performance, I have no faith in the Bucs. Don't disrespect the Bengals. Cover it.
Yeah, I'm on that same front. There's no discussion here. Take them up.
In so many years past, I used to just say, "Oh, let's not bet against Tom Brady." This year, it's a different year. Give me the Bengals.
I wonder. The question's going to be, as of right now, what's the status of T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd? Because those two guys both were hurt last week. But yeah, I'm done picking Tampa. You know, we all talked about not picking the Broncos. I'm done picking Tampa Bay.
Johnny, you've been on the Tampa fix all year.
I mean, taking them either win or cover. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not gonna be insane this week, which means the Bucs win by 30 this week. So give me Cincinnati.
All right, Sunday Night Football, big game. NFC East battle, Giants, Commanders. Commanders a 4.5-point favorite. I think this is an absolute must-win for the Giants in the hopes of keeping their playoff hopes alive.
This was the flex game, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
this was flexed in. Bills Dolphins got moved over to the big Saturday game, and Giants something got swapped out. I think Bengals Bucks maybe. And
Wait a minute. They
Giants,
swapped. Wait. They swapped out Dolphins Bills for this crap?
Hold on. Let me check. Let me double check the Week 15 flex. Well, not flex rankings, fantasy football. No, Week 15 flex for Sunday night. What did they do? Let me check what they did. I don't even know if they
Because if it was
they flexed out. If they were going to do Pats versus Raiders for Sunday Night Football this week.
I'm
glad we have this game then.
Okay, because I was going to say if they flexed out Dolphins Bills for this crap, I would have screamed.
No, and also it's not necessarily crap because it is a big divisional game that when both teams are competing for a playoff spot. They both played to the tie last time out. Some bad play calling cost the Giants a game that they could have won.
Dable is scaring me a little bit on the play calling front.
So the original Sunday night game, by the way, was supposed to be Patriots Raiders.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah, he just said that. Yeah.
Okay. Did you guys go?
No. Johnny, go ahead.
I'm taking the Giants plus the 4.5. I mean, I'm worried that the Commanders are, they had their bye week, but I feel the Giants are more comfortable on the road in this kind of situation. I don't know about the full upset special, but 4.5 to me might be a little bit too high again. But if I had to go full upset, I'll do it in a must-win kind of game.
Tom, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Commanders. I want the Giants to prove me wrong. However, I will say, for the sake of my Gianthood and the sake of how the last game played out, even off the Commanders bye, I say no cover.
Wow, Hank.
Commanders no cover.
I'd rather be wrong and happy than right and disappointed.
Same.
So I think you know where I'm going with this.
Commanders.
Yep. Hope I'm wrong though.
So you're taking what?
I'll take the L. I would definitely be okay taking that L though.
I mean, that game was insane. Dable kind of scared me the last couple of games, the way the play calling is gone, especially taking that timeout in overtime, which would have saved them an extra 40 seconds. They probably would have won that game with a closer field goal kick. But Dable, I don't know. I'm taking the Commanders. I don't like the play calling from the Giants. I'm taking the Commanders to cover.
I think the play calling is the least of the Giant
Hopefully,
problems
Johnny's
right now.
being the one that's outnumbered is right. That's all I can say.
Well, no, I'm taking the Giants. Oh no, wait. I am the lone wolf this week. Am I? In this one,
I said no. I said no cover.
All right, so it's 2 against 2.
Yeah, 2-2. Time for Monday Night Football.
I think with Dable's the least of the worries with it now with the Giants.
Okay, time for Monday Night Football. Time for Monday Night Football. We're going up to Green Bay in a game between the Rams and the Packers. Now, I don't know if you noticed that I haven't done something yet. So here's how I'm going to put it in the spirit of Christmas time. Dashing to Lambeau. Damaged Rams go to Green Bay. Packs coming off a bye. Lock it all the way. I'm taking the Packers I'm locking it in as a 7-point favorite. I think the Rams are too absolutely beat up.
What? Did you really just agree? Wait a minute. Did you just agree with this man?
RELAX.
Are you telling me that against a damaged Rams team that Aaron Jones...
They're both damaged.
I know Aaron Jones is a little hurt, but either he or A.J. Dillon are going to go off. And I think the Packers have found their wide receiver one in one Christian Watson. I think he has been an absolute beast on the field to the point that I think the Packers can win by a touchdown in an extra point over the Rams.
Wait a minute.
I say take the money and my lock.
Wait a minute. Is this Aaron Rodgers versus Baker Mayfield?
Yes.
Yeah, Baker's starting Monday.
Holy crap.
That's why I'm saying I got to take the lock on this one. I think the Packers are a much different team than the Raiders. Now, I know the Packers are struggling, but like I said, home at Lambeau, and the Rams just being absolutely – the Rams not having Cooper Kupp or Stafford, nothing that made them good, nothing that made them the Super Bowl champs last year. I have to take the lock on this one.
Ugh. Johnny?
What Tom said.
Hank?
What Johnny said.
Okay, then.
Are you going to be different?
As much as I want to be different, as much as I hate this man and have hated him all season, the Rams are a dumpster fire with every injury. I'm not taking them because I like them as a favorite. I'm taking them because the Rams are a joke. Take the money. Ugh. Gross.
All right. So that is going to do it. And this is now the second longest show in ETB Network history.
Oh, it's not over yet. It's not over yet.
So actually, it could top MMA Outsiders' most recent episode.
Well, let's quickly talk because this is the last episode of the year.
Yeah. So in that case, it's going to break the record then.
Well, can't forget that stuff. So obviously, the year ends episode 165. We don't count the episodes for best ofs; those are just best ofs. So part 1 is already in the books. That's planned for
next
what
week.
date? Right.
Next
so that's
week,
the
best
20th.
of Bench 2022. The 21st.
I mean the 21st and
21st, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific.
and then the 28th will be part 2.
Yep.
Yes. We went over all the best moments. A lot of crazy moments, including Hank's favorite moment of the Tatis and Tom yelling at me saying I'm stupid. Yes, even though I was right in the long run. I don't know. There was a lot of wacky, fun stuff, including some Jerry Jones Dallas Cowboy impressions in there too. But yes, so those are coming up. Game On will also have best ofs coming up over the next 2 weeks. Those are each week. That's the day right after ours. So theirs are the 22nd and the 29th, right? We're doing that right? Yeah. But yeah, so in the long year that we've done these shows between us and Game On and Johnny and Hank helping us with our show and us helping them. And what a year it's been in sports.
Yeah, I say that ever since I came aboard, there's not been one slow week. And that has been even when going into holiday weeks or whatnot. I mean, we just finished up Tuesday. Our final show was north of 2 hours as well, which is pretty rare, but there's just been so much happening. And that's a good problem to have. And watch there's something be break during this break. But you'll still see me. We'll still be around. I mean, obviously, we still have our football picks against the spread, which we'll be doing every week. We'll probably be doing another crossover on
at some point.
Yeah, so you'll see us all again. And, of course, after Christmas, I will be back with my Monty moments as we get closer to the college football playoff semifinals on New Year's Eve, and then obviously the national championship happening on January the 9th.
Also, we do have one more football game that we're going to be streaming and doing live coverage for, despite the fact that we're going on break. It is the Jets-Jaguars Thursday night football watch-along on Thursday, December 22nd. Start time should be around 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. So we can watch the Jets and see if the Jets will get one step closer to a playoff spot or if they will absolutely collapse at the hands of Trevor Lawrence.
Anyone who wants to see Nick Morgasen scream at a screen for 4 hours, that should be entertaining to you.
Well, now it's really become a must-watch because that is going to be a huge game for the Jets.
Well, I won't even be able to watch because I'm going to be watching the Rangers hopefully beat up on the Islanders that night.
I think watching it the next day actually might. I've heard watching it the next day is just as good.
That's a good point. Hey,
especially if you have screaming Nick Morgasen as a second screen.
I mean, like, what was it? Nick Federa was screaming during the Giants Cowboys game. We did that.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Well, that's only fair. I mean, you did a Giants game at a Jets game. That should be great.
I mean, we also had the added fun of my power going out during that game.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And Nick literally was by himself, didn't realize it either. Nick was literally talking to himself during the stream. He's like, "Where is he?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sitting here. I needed the old-fashioned candlelight and the horse and buggy just to get through here." But yes, so when are our shows coming back? Just so everyone knows.
All right, so our shows are going to come back. So Game On is scheduled to come back, I would assume January 3rd.
January 3rd, yep.
Empty the Bench will be back the next day, January 4th, 3 p.m. Eastern. And
damn, that's a month until my birthday when we come back. Oy.
Yep. And we'll get you ready that week for the final week of the NFL regular season.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that week we'll be looking back at the two semifinals in college football, and we'll have our national championship game set because the national championships game is on January the 9th.
Yeah.
So we'll be right there. And I will say that I think it's going to be Georgia and Michigan, but we'll find out.
That's what I'm hoping for.
I would love Michigan, Ohio State. I just don't see any way that's going to happen, though.
Oh, by the way, as Johnny mentioned, well, we'll figure out one way or another if it's going to be all football Fridays or one football Friday, one rapid rundown. But we will still give our picks. We will still give our picks against the spread. So stay tuned for information on how we're going to give those out. And by the way, yes, as expected, this is now the longest show in network history.
Yeah! Woo!
I know you're going to say it too, but the best thing to do for us is also, follow our social media accounts, Game On ETB, YouTube.com/ETB Network, because there's a possibility that one of our football Fridays may land on a Thursday because of the Christmas holiday and everybody's playing on Saturday. If you remember, majority of the games Christmas week are on Christmas Eve, which is a Saturday. So we may be putting them out on Thursday. But then the best thing to do, just follow our accounts and we'll have our official release dates as we get closer to it.
Let's put it this way. I think we're all thankful to have a 2-week off period to kind of recover. You guys, your show is finally in a pickup mode. We can take those 2 weeks to kind of adjust and see where we're going in the new year.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more to come. The network has a lot more shows on its way. Also some new ones. So yeah, it's been quite a year. Like I said, we'll be back January 4th, you said, for us at least. And yeah, so I guess that's basically it. For Johnny Montalbano, for Hank Indictor, for Tom Albano, I'm Nick Morgasen, also for Nick Federa as well, has been with us all year. What a year it's been for 2022. And we will see you next year in 2023. Any last words?
Obviously, we'll see you at the best ofs and the Jets Jaguar stream. But other than that, if you're not going to tune in because you'll be busy, if you're not going to tune in live, we'll still see you on demand. And if not, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year, Happy Festivus, Happy all the celebrations.
I was waiting for that. So yeah, happy holidays, and we'll see you all next year. Good night, everybody.
Hey, everybody.